there's just so many different artists now. Covers are done by everybody now. So if you're not the first one, you better be the best one.
Yep.
And then you better put some money into it to make sure it gets seen. You know, like there's just some rules that are involved. And if you don't like those rules, then play the game better, I guess. I don't know.
It's funny too, how like your tastes change in such a short amount of time. Cause I'll go back through, you know, if I'm dry between shows, so I go 2-3 weeks without shooting a show, I try to post on Instagram at least once a day. Yeah. If I start running out of photos, I'll go back through. For example, I shot Cage the Elephant like 3 or 4 years ago, but I'll still go back through and look at the raws and be like, oh, I kind of like the shot, but it never saw the light of day. And I'll re-edit it, put it back out.
We're always collaborating at all times with the universe.
Well, you figure Rode does the wireless go-to system.
Yeah.
And that's what I use for a lot of like my corporate stuff. I mean, like at the end of the day, everything is getting post-processed anyway. So as long as I've got the bare minimum like frequency range of audio that I'm looking for, I can make it sound good and fit into the space that I want it to fit into. And so you can plug a lav into them, or they actually have like little pop wind filters that go over top of it that you can use. Just like I could hold it out and that's it basically. And it's a pretty good proximity if you've got it dialed in the right way. And as long as I always run my, there's this weird compression I think that happens if you use the on camera automatic volume adjustment or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I always run it at like, 5 manual volume. So it's like way low, but the audio source is coming through really clear. And as long as it's not clipping there, it's not going to clip anywhere else. It's just gain miking 101.
Yeah.
Fucking amateurs. I laugh, dude, whenever you watch some people's productions and like, I love when I get outbid for a project and then I see the thing get done and I'm like, that's so rich.
And the audio sounds like this.
Yeah, for sure. There's just zero barrier to entry when it comes to like having class and taste when it comes to making your products and your videos.
Well, that's when I did the TV show towards the end there, I was doing all the audio finishing. So I'm like super anal about my audio now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's like the gift and the curse of like being a musician first and then branching out into the media space afterward, is you already are kind of this audio aficionado. Right. And that's such a large part of what you're experiencing when you're watching video is the audio. And if you realize like how important sound design is, like there's a big difference between like a corporate video where there's going to be some like sound effects and a little bit of transitions or whatever here and there. But whenever you feel like a really robust, there's drones and pulses and like movements to the music, and you really kind of go through this dynamic ebb and flow. That's what people are paying for whenever they see these big ticket prices. It's somebody who has a mind that can, basically direct and create that space in that final, like if you know where the video is going to end up, then you know what to shoot for when you're making it. Right. And I feel like that creative briefing, it's hard when you've got a lot of people in suits and ties that don't really understand what they're asking for. Like if they had a better vernacular or understanding of like what they were asking for, they could ask in more articulate ways and get better final products. Right. But because we segregate them so much and it's like, okay, such and such company has a marketing department, but they don't have any media creators. They just can market material that they get given to them or get done for them. Which is, I mean, I fully benefit from that from several of my clients. So like, I can't complain, but sometimes you almost wish like, could we get me hired in here at an exempt position for like, so I don't have to be in the building all the time, but I can get paid. And that the work that I do is fire and that you're going to get it on time and we're going to meet deadlines. But yeah, well, Nate, dude, thanks for coming on the podcast. Long overdue. We've been talking about this for a hot minute now, and I'm glad we finally got to get you on here.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
This can partially function as our work relationship conversation about how we're going to handle Spitfire, because I'm like having all kinds of second thoughts on the unreal world of things, even though I know I shouldn't, because I'm like, this in theory seems really complicated, but it's ultimately like there's a linear process to getting it done, and it varies here and there, but like you just got to find a path that way that you want to go to and go for it. And I'll tell you what really has been like keeping me hesitant about it right now, and makes me want to like redo it all together, is I went to Denver 2 weeks ago for this fashion show, this True Romance fashion show in Denver. My buddy Mike Fullington was throwing it, and I got to see a bunch of my friends like Hannah and Eddie and all these people that were like homies from here that moved out to Denver. Brian Geckel, I met his new girlfriend. Like we just had a blast. And one of the things that I met there, a group of the people that I met there were like these costumers and designers. And obviously it's a fashion show. There's going to be designers. And when you see some of the like the post-apocalyptic style, like where that some of these people made some of these killer looking, like very like futuristic yet somehow still apocalyptic, I was like, this partially makes me want to go through and partner with a designer who wants to come up with some outfits tailored to the size of a few people that they can sell. Like they don't have that, you know, we're just using it for the video shoot. And then, you know, if we break it, we buy it kind of a situation. But like what better way to kind of like broadcast your work than to be like, okay, I already designed this stuff. What size are you guys? I've got fittings for you for these. We can give you guys an outfit. You know, maybe I go out to Denver and I get some of those outfits and we film them out there. But if I need to get everybody filmed here, maybe I send them back here. And you got like a snowy post-apocalyptic kind of thing. Just like really sticking the landing on this vibe of how like cool the costumes looked. And I was like, you know, we were dressed nice and everything. And we were like music video nice. But I'm like, is music video nice? Post-apocalyptic world coherent?
It's too nice.
It's too nice. It's too nice. Yeah. So now we got to like maybe the setting changes a little bit. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't want to put anybody on blast too, but now that we've seen that other music video that's like exactly what we were going to do anyway.
Right.
I'm like, ooh, maybe we should redo this.
Well, you see how it can be done.
Yeah.
Wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, like it's a learning curve, but if we can't get to if we can't get, you know, 24, if we can't get like 300 frames together that we're like proud of, then like we got to figure out what it is we want to do. And a lot of it does come down to the compositing. I think in so far as the way I filmed, I got as clean of a key as I could get.
Yeah.
But and anything else, if there's like a momentary blur or glitch from something, we can just mask it out or whatever and then export it again. But if the color got baked in to that instead of being overlaid raw, then that would be a problem. It's like, oh shit, well now I don't have the clean cut that I want on the raw footage that I want to be able to color correct and be able to dial in. You know, that's 10-bit color, so it should go into anything that we would do in Unreal really, really well. It's just a matter of like compositing it well. And it's like one of these like labor intensive things. So it's like, there's no way to do it. Like if I cut the video together using just the original stuff, like all the original footage, and I just make the video out of that, it's all green screen. And then you're just individually, you can export into After Effects and go through and key and do it all right there. The workflow, it does technically work, but it's so laggy and glitchy. Like I know that the Adobe Media Bridge like works, but it's very, very laggy at best sometimes, especially when you're dealing with like 10-bit 4K footage. It's like really, really big. But yeah, so I don't want to scrap it, but I'm like, I just want to make sure that we don't end up in that music video territory that we will not name blast and talk shit on. But like it's, you know, at the end of the day, you sign off on this. Everybody signs off on this. That's kind of the part of the collaborative endeavor in doing it. And simultaneously, I'm working with this rap duo right now to do an alien like sci-fi music video. And so I just met with a VFX like makeup artist yesterday who's local to the area.
Oh, that's cool.
And she's super talented and she's like very interested in doing this. And so I was like, you know, we could do prosthetics for alien facial features and we could do this for this music video. If we're going to do it, like, let's do it. If we're going to do real and like gritty and it feels real, let's crush it.
Yeah. And
shoot it as like, I hate this term, but like, you know, as cinematically as possible. Let's make it like really feel like you're watching this like in movie format. And or let's do it in this like, totally tongue-in-cheek Busta Rhymes early 2000s style music video and have fun with it. But and it is a funny music video. But as I'm doing that and I'm seeing this opportunity to do like practical, it's obviously a little easier to do practical. But then you don't get into the fantasy. It's like, do we want to go hike some mountains? All you know, the whole squad plus you plus you know whoever else we can drag out to help out with filming.
The intern,
Carlos.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. So I'm just at this crossroads where I'm like, okay, well, how do we want to handle this moving forward? Because I want to stick the landing is all I'm really worried about.
Yeah. My problem with this is, and the song's not out yet, and I'm sure this will be out before the song's released. The minute I heard the song, I was getting Blade Runner vibes. And I'm like, we have to do Blade Runner. I don't have the budget or the talent to do Blade Runner.
Right. But there, I mean, listen, I'm fully all about like, if you have the skill sets available to you, and the ability to do like the compositing, you can do it. You can do it in-house. You can do a really, actually, shout out to Follmer. There was a really good video that they did where they were kind of breaking down the VFX, where they were trying to recreate what they were doing and how they went about shooting it. And when it's fully possible to do it. It's just a matter of like having all of those skills in your belt. And if you don't have that part of your team, then you have to either adopt those skills and get into the nitty gritty of learning. And I'm honestly thinking like that may end up being, I had this surgery coming up in December for my third kidney. So I think like I might be going to get some downtime that I'm going to need, where I'm going to have no choice but to kind of sit around and like not be too active. So if I can like get myself set up at home, then maybe I'll be able to poke at some clips that way. But, you know, Unreal, obviously such a huge like burden on any processing system for any computer. So like you need to, if you're going to do it and you're rendering in full quality, it's like, okay, well, this is going to be taking some time. Yep. And you got to accept that going into it.
And don't try to do it on a Mac.
Yeah, surprisingly, right? You would imagine that'd be the one thing that they would do the best, but it's all about the graphics processing hardware. Like, and nothing that usually comes in stock unless you've, like the Mac Studio, maybe with the M2 Pro Max chips that are coming out or whatever, of course, because it's just like sheer brute force forcing pixels through like a blender to be like, put this together.
Well, when the iMac Pros came out, I bought one, top of the line, but it had the AMD card in it.
Yeah.
I had a 2007 iMac.
Did you know Boss?
Yeah.
Yeah, Boss had one too. He got one of the 5K ones that came out right before he passed away.
But like my mid-level iMac with the NVIDIA card could render faster than the iMac Pro with the AMD card in it. And it was like a third of the price. Yeah,
and listen, man, at the end of the day, with what you're doing, that's why like the benchmark tests are great, but they're benchmarks. Like they're not going to basically run you through every situation. They're just like, here's every situation, and here's like a sum average of like what your score was in that experience.
Now on the flip side, you try to run Final Cut Pro on that thing. I mean, it is ridiculously fast. I can punch out video. I mean, an eighth of the time I can using Adobe products.
Do you ship between both? Do you have like PCs and Macs that you kind of use?
I have all Macs.
All Macs now? Yeah. So I have people that I could reach out to, but like everybody's busy and it's hard when you're like trying to get somebody in on like the passion project side of things. Yeah. And so, which is totally understandable. Everybody's got bills to pay. They're like, yeah, it would be cool. But I know people that are like, I'm trying to lighten the burden on a bunch of people instead of like heavying the burden on a few people and being like, here you go. And I'm willing to take on like the lion's share of it if I have to, like going through and keying it and processing that. Like I started that before I went on a trip to Nashville, and I knew that it wasn't going to be done processing for like 2 more days after I was gone, knowing that it would be, you know, that was the process I was going to have to do. Just have these like alpha renders that were clean cuts of a character that you can put wherever you want to put.
Well, you did your part very well. The burden's on me now.
But I don't want to leave it on you if it hangs us up, right?
Right.
It's like, okay, like what can that, like what's the next skill share set of knowledge that I can adapt that is going to help me, like, you know, placing a null object in something and having it motion track and like it's this, I'm connected to this null object. And so if this thing moves forward, I move forward or whatever.
Right.
Like that I get. But because of the way we filmed it, you know, it's going to be a lot of pushes and pulls, which I think is totally fine. I think that works honestly just as well. And it's not even saying that with the right spatial difference and distance away, you don't notice the parallax as much happening to the object as you do the thing behind it. So if it's like a long wide shot, you know, you basically have the ability to kind of do that and shift around. But yeah, so like I'm excited that I think we'll get it done. And I'm not worried about that. As far as seeing the world get put together, it's like, to me, I'm like, as long as that looks real, that's all I'm worried about. So like whatever, and if it's going to take time to process, and then we have to do like a base layer process that gets, you know, color corrected separately and then composited on top of that, like that part I'm not as familiar with. And it's like, that's the part that you find a difficult time finding breakdowns of online, where you can figure out like, what is it that is going to make this, what turns this into it looking real.
Right. Well, I think seeing that other video,
gives you like horror nightmares.
I think what happens with us is, I know you're like this, I am too. We're staring at that object like hours. We're going to notice the imperfections.
Yeah.
When I watch that music video, those imperfections are on the screen for half a second, so you can get away with them.
Yeah.
but I won't let myself get away with them. That's my problem. I need to let go and just be like, well, it's not going to be perfect.
I'll say this about that. I will say that there is something to minding the devil in the details. And that is, to me, that extra couple passes that are going to help you whittle out those like 6 frames that you're noticing that nobody else is, literally like a fourth of a second. Mm-hmm. You know, those details and that meticulous attention to detail is what's going to separate. That's the sprinkles on the cupcake. It's like you can have this really cool ornate cupcake, but like, would it benefit from some sprinkles? It's like if you toss them on there and they're there, that now becomes a part of the composition. And then you because you don't have these 6 frames that you could negligibly pick apart, your audience then of people that could pick that apart is now dwindled because there's nothing there for them to find, which is definitely a defense and coping mechanism on like, my art is sacred and I don't want anybody to talk shit on my babies. But like, at the end of the day, yeah, you're right. Like you got to kind of muscle past the imposter syndrome of being like, I don't want to, this isn't going to quite hold up. I mean, if you go back and watch Linkin Park's In the End music video, like via where we're at with a lot of like Architects, I think does a lot of really creative and amazing, like green screen music videos. And like the difference is night and day between these two. And so part of it is like, we chose like a world to put us in. And so we want that to look as real as possible because we are real. And if we can find a way to kind of marry those two together in a way where they feel like they're happening in the same place, we'll be happy. And a lot of that does come down to like the color grading, like getting a good like base color correction and then being able to grade and composite on top of that. And the layers, like the smoke layers, all the stuff that's going to basically fill out what makes this video is what we're like seeking to do. And I think if we could just get through, like, I think a few clips here and there where we just pick, like you're doing it pretty well, I think, where you're just taking like, here's a clip of me like walking around in the intro or whatever, and here's a drop down, and you get to kind of watch like the scene as it's being like set. All the camera movements and stuff like that, if we're like, hey, that's too fast, let's slow that down a little bit, that will come into play once we're finally starting to dial the edit in. But everything until then needs to be like situated and dialed in first. So I think like if we can just get a few example clips done where we're happy with like just pick a moment in the song, and maybe I even go through and I line everything up that way in post and make a cut that's all just the green screen cut. And then once we learn the process for like what we've done for this, we see everybody in frame plus a full group wide or whatever, then there's an opportunity for us to say, okay, all right, now we've got this video. Now how do we like place this and put this together in a way where it makes sense? Yeah. And that's why that lens framing and angle stuff becomes so important, because when you start like creating those spaces and you're looking at it in 35, but it was shot on 100 or whatever, you're like, oh, okay, all right, I need to figure out how to, you can cheat a little bit when you get to like 135 by just being punched in on something so close world-wise that you can't tell what you're looking at either way. You're like, that's just background. It's out of focus anyway. But it's in the space, like color-wise, it's in the space. I don't know, man. Like I love that we met and we've been able to like explore this stuff, because to me, that's, if you're curious about it, that's what's going to help you get to the point where you can actually start to execute on it. Because we're gonna have to fail for sure. We're not going to fail before we put the video out, though. Like we're gonna fail before we put the video out, but we're gonna fail so that when we put the video out, it doesn't fail. Yeah. And so like I'm okay with us seeing like some really sloppy looking edits and being like, this is ridiculous. I just showed you before you got here, but Sheets hit us up the other day to do. I say us, but they hit me up and I hit up Nate, and that is basically the bulk of Relic Arts at that point as far as the music production side of things goes. And so like getting them, they asked us to do this like commercial, so like jingle for them, and it's so obnoxious, like 80s hair metal, very a la America.
That's a great tune.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, that's like that's basically what we were going for with it. And we, in less than 2 days, honestly, I bet not full days worth of work, but like a few hours one day, a few hours the next day, no more than 12 hours total has been put into this, and they already signed off on it and they're happy with it. And we're going to tweak it because we're like, well, this lead could come up a little bit and maybe we could put a synth in here a little bit that kind of moves this a little more. And you know, because we're going to add some bells and whistles to it, but it's going to be corny. Yeah. And so like, it takes being surrounded by people that aren't afraid to just be like, all right, can't take ourselves too seriously. But with this, it's like, this is a really good song. I feel like we put a lot of time and energy into getting this just right and really sticking the landing on it. And I think we did that. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, okay, I'm still hearing things I would add or change or do or add into or whatever, but we're past it. I'll do it live. Like I'll find a way to make my peace with it. But to be able to kind of like be curious enough and explore the shit without having any of the know-how in advance is good. I think like the people that I've had that have talked to me, and I'm sure you get this too, where they're like, dude, I love that thing you did. And you're like, cool, I was just fucking around. I had like, this was 100% me just experimenting, and happy accidents.
I just put out a reel, like literally before I got here. When I was shooting Monsters of Oz tour, I got enough safe shots. I'm like, I'm going to do some video in the pit, because they didn't tell me I couldn't.
Right. And even if they did, it's like, you got to catch me first, bitch.
Well, no, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that publicly, but
yeah. The pit has its own rules, dude. I don't know how to.
But I threw it together. It's junk footage. I never meant for it to
go
be
anywhere.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I put it up. People are like, oh, that's a great reel. I'm like, this reel sucks. But like,
man, I don't know. Who are we to say?
So, yeah.
You perceiving it that way because you're like, I didn't get that wide approach that I wanted to have with the with the gimbal, and you miss out on some of the elements you'd like to have. But I will say, just like this fashion show, I've never shot a fashion show before.
That was great, by the way.
Thank you. Totally
awesome
flying
stuff.
By the seat of my pants. I was using somebody else's gimbal. Somebody else's camera was on that. I was hand holding my Canon. And I'm just like back and forthing between what I need. I want to get a good mix of like, there's a bunch of designers, and I don't want to have a static only a certain number of shots. Cause then if I miss and I don't have anything different to kind of cut to, like, I think it's important to have different visual composition styles and looks and lens compression going on whenever you're going through an edit. So you don't see the same thing over and over again. And so like, one that is basically only looking at a girl's like, feet and mid calves, and then having that scroll up. Now you get this reveal in a totally different way. And in a perfect scenario, I would have shot like way wider and I could punch in and done it all in 4K. But I mean, I think for an hour's worth of shooting, I probably had like 150 something gigs worth of footage, 4K, 60, like, it adds up quick, especially with the 4K 60. And I'm shooting all of it knowing I'm editing on a 24p timeline. And like, I want to have like that cinema look to things, or that film look, I guess, to things. And, I got some stuff with the dolly that I liked, but because it's not gimbal, but because it's not my gimbal, it doesn't have my speed and rotation settings and stuff. And like and it was like just a handhold. It's just the gimbal and the camera. Whereas I usually have an external monitor. I've got some cables dangling. I've got stuff going on so that I can like see and accurately like move and get the shot I want.
I've held your gimbal.
It's like 27.5 pounds. It's ridiculous. I think that's like the light end of it is 27, maybe 30 at max.
It's a lot of stuff on
It's a lot of shit. Yeah, but it's everything's on there. So like, I'm like, I can run and gun. I got this thing. This thing is powering itself and go on for we can film straight for the next 8 hours. Like, I'm gonna have to maybe swap the batteries out of the camera, but other than that, the gimbal will work. The external monitor, I've got extra batteries for, will be all right. But just like getting good shots, you can do good compositional things. And so, if I've got a fire dancer, they're not up there for more than like 3 minutes because like fire is super dangerous. And it starts to go out after a while. So you're like, okay, how do I shoot this quick and get it? And I was just running around, dude. Like,
how much of that did you shoot vertically, knowing?
None of it? Absolutely none. Yeah. And but I knew if I shot some stuff wide enough and I had a full person standing in frame, that as long as I could stabilize left and right, I would have that to work with in post without having I try not to use image stabilizer as much as possible. I think it's great in some settings if you've got an intentionally smooth shot you're trying to get, but if you don't need it to be smooth and having a little bit of character and body and life to it actually is functionally good for you, it's worth it to let it roll and be like, all right, this handheld look is kind of a thing,
Yeah. I noticed too, like when I'm shooting concerts, I'll get my safe shots, the wide stuff, close-ups, all horizontal. But I've been doing a lot more vertical work lately because everything's going vertical. It's ridiculous. I fought it for so long. You can't anymore. You can't. You just embrace it.
I mean, think about it. It's literally because we hold our phones, like, just predominantly. And I always get like whatever the biggest size iPhone is I can get. I'm like, oh, it's a small computer. Okay, it's a mini iPad. I got you. Just put it in my pocket. Like, that's what I'm doing because I deal with media. So for me, this is my this is the best reference point of where all of this material is going and being observed and watched is more often than not, right? More than broadcast. And so, to be able to, it is kind of like this thing where we kind of complain about it a little bit, right? Because we're like, what about all come on, what are we? But
we're boomers, I guess.
But I mean, I also like it too. If it's done well, I do like it.
Yeah.
But the problem is when I'm shooting for that landscape composition and not the portrait composition.
Right.
And if you could just shoot a little wider, like if the contrast is just have a lens that's comparable, that's like 5 millimeters wider, and then shoot in 4K and give yourself that extra step back and know that you're going to be punching in on it, but that it can be punched in on and it's going to be worthwhile.
That's a skill you have to learn. Cause like when I shoot that way, looking at it from landscape view, I'm like, this is a terrible shot.
Yeah.
But when you're punching in, it's like, oh no, this was an awesome shot. It's just seeing it on the camera. You're like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah. Right.
So you just have to trust yourself and trust the process.
Do you leave grids on your camera for like when you're shooting? I have like the rule of thirds grid on.
Not really. I should.
I passively use it. I'm not like, oh, I got to be in the thirds position.
Right.
Like I just have it set up so that it's loosely there. It's like something to be mindful of. I honestly probably tune it out more than I pay attention to it, but having it be there is, I think, super helpful for me, just because I'm like, it gives me the opportunity to be like, well, does it look a little better? Say, well, it looks okay centered. But then like, there's something about a person being centered that I fucking hate if they're not looking right at the camera.
Right.
Because it's like there's all this dead space behind you. And that's fine in like a horror movie where you rack focus to something that is revealing itself as being back there.
Yeah.
But like, unless it's an intended shot, I just hate this dead space behind somebody I'm like, let me see. If they're looking this way, let my back be where they are and see like the bulk of the frame is them looking in front of them.
Yeah. Even if there's nothing in front of them, if someone's looking this way, you want all that dead space on this side, even if it's dead.
Yeah.
But occasionally I'll do but it needs to be an extreme case where like I'll have somebody like on the right side of the frame looking off to the right, but they're in the bottom 1/3, and then there'll be like a light or something up in the other end.
Yeah.
It's like a diagonal. You have to draw the viewer's eye to the subject,
and that's why I like parallax. Like to me, I would like that shot if in moving, I'm seeing them shift positions,
right?
Like that kind of that polarity shift that you can kind of get out of parallax sometimes. Man, this is the nerdiest podcast I think I've ever done. If people aren't filmmakers or like camera people, they're going to be like, what the fuck are they talking about? What I wanted to talk to you about actually is this, you going and shooting shows and events. Like you've had some killer people posting your stuff, like literally Alice Cooper posting your stuff, and then
twice
rehashing and using it again later in like video format is awesome. And you look back to what, a little over a year ago when we were getting ready to go do the show with like Drowning Pool and them. And you shot a photo on that show that is like one of my favorite pictures of me on stage probably ever, just because it is like that portraiture style shot and it functions so well for a profile picture and like all these different things. It just looks good. And you were really on the fence about like every time I ask, I get rejected. And I was like, yeah, bro, it's a fucking numbers game. Like
it is.
It's literally, you're going to get rejected. Just throw out so many that eventually you can't. And as you build those accolades, you get access to more because they're like, oh, you've got a record of stuff that you've already, shot and put out there.
Yeah. And I mean, it's word of mouth too. Like,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, collab or die. I shot you guys, and then Black Satellite was right after you. They just came around again. Yep. I shot them again with Devil Driver and El Nino. And so it's just growing your network, basically. That's how you get into this.
But you've been doing it and consistent about it, and in doing it and just kind of like, you said, like, it's been on a few of our Facebook posts on our wall, but you're like, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. And I'm like, it's bullshit. Like, you wanted to do it. You just were like hitting the same wall that I think a lot of people do. And I think like, it's just so easy to look at that wall and be like, oh, okay, they don't want me in there. Yeah. But that's not true. It's like, you have something that other people don't have. There's an eye that you have, somebody else is not going to see the same way. Your equipment's going to be different. Your understanding of how you're going to light and expose and do all of this stuff is going to be totally different from another person, just because they have a different bag of tricks that they're pulling from.
Right.
And I mean, it's been really cool to see that you've stuck with it. And then to see that, like, when Alice Cooper started posting stuff, I was like, look at this dude. He was like talking shit on himself a year ago. And here he is like getting posted like off of his main account. And dude, he's hyperactive. We just did an audition. We submitted for the No Cover show for season 2. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know if with the writer's strike, if that was going to get pushed up, like continue to be pushed back. Cause I'm assuming they're SAG-AFTRA people are doing that show out there. Mm-hmm. And he's one of the guests. He's one of the judges on the show. He's like one of 4 judges. Then I don't know if they'll do different judges every season, but if he stays as one of them, like he's a pretty active dude. He's active on radio still. He's active with his band. He's like, that's the dream. Like he's got all the different, like, you know, the radio show is partially almost like a podcast for him in between songs and him spinning whatever and interacting with people. And to me, that is like the coolest thing about him is he is engaged with his community still, like decades later, and probably now more so than ever because it's easier to do it. And he's like the Howard Stern of like shock rock, basically, you know, like
I'm shocked too at his age and how tight he sounds live. I could hear him. I was so close to him. I could hear him singing, but also hear what was going out
through the PA.
That's him singing.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah,
there's no trickery there. Like he still sounds the same.
I mean, because I'm sure he's never taken the fucking training wheels off. He's just he's like, I'm always doing this. Like I've just been doing this for so long. Like, it's got to be second nature.
Yeah.
But I am secretly hoping like we submitted for the No Cover show. I don't know when they're going to announce. I'm sure they were just polling to see like who they were going to get in.
Right.
And then they'll maybe decide to start reaching out and announcing maybe in the beginning of the new year. Cause it'll have been about a year and some change now since the show has gone on. They're not filming right now as far as I know, but I would really love to be able to like get on that show and just take like Spitfire is a song that I want to take. You only get one song. So you come out and like,
that's it.
You go out and you fucking crush that. And it's like, okay, that's a pretty good opportunity to win some people over. And I think that you have to go out to LA for like a week to wherever, if it's in LA this year, the next year, and compete until you're dropped or you get sent home or whatever. But I don't know, man. Like when you're in a band and you've been cutting your teeth for as long as I have, I'm like, point me away to the stage. Let's go chew them up. Like, let's go have a good time. Like the last show we played was by far the best show we played in a while. It felt like frontman wise, I felt really, really comfortable and confident in my skin. I think we brought back the 2-drink minimum, 2-drink maximum rule before stage. It was like super beneficial. And
you definitely had a lot more crowd interaction too.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of set the intent to be like better about doing that from now on.
Yeah.
And because it is such like a vital part of the process. And I don't know, I could just as easily be brooding and quiet on stage and like silent and just crush and then quiet in between songs or whatever. But I'm like, I do have so much to say. Clearly, if I've decided to doing a podcast and starting to do stand up and like just the way I am conversationally with people anyways, it's like, it's worth it to be more engaged as a front man in that regard. And so so the No Cover show thing, that's great. Hopefully we get that. I'd love to be able to do that because then we get to go and play in front of Alice Cooper. And if it's the same cast as last time, it's I think Tobias is his name. I can't remember. He's created a couple guitar lines, and I think he's in Animals as Leaders.
Yeah.
And
love him.
I mean, he's like an insanely good guitar player. And Gavin DeGraw from Bush, which makes me want to finish our cover of Everything Zen that we started that we haven't finished yet. Like our last night's been doing this like new metal November series, which is genius. Like that is so genius. And like props to Trevor and Matt and them for doing it. Like I think it's really good. They did Falling Away From Me, I think, by Korn. And then they just did Evanescence last week.
Wow.
Man, crushing it. It's so funny, but it's cool to see like if they do a theme like that, it makes me like, okay, cool. Let's do that next year. Yeah. Let's join them for New Metal November. And then it's not like we're doing it together, but if all of us are doing it, it's like, there's a good opportunity to first off the discography of new metal songs you can do that you could have a great time with, get after it. And everybody loves it. I don't know if this will come to fruition. I probably shouldn't say anything because it's just going to jinx this. And I might cut this out if in a week, like it doesn't end up happening. But I was on tour with Our Last Night one time and we were in Kentucky and right across the river is Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. And so they were playing in Kentucky, Memphis Mayfire and whoever they were out with was playing in Cincinnati. And we went over the river to hang out with them after our show let out. And we were on their bus and they were like passing the song around, the aux around for people to DJ. And I put Pitiful by Blindside on or maybe Sleepwalking. I don't know. And Maddie was like, who played this? And we're like, the whole bus just got so rowdy. It's like everybody knew this song from this like Swedish rock band that didn't really get to be that big, but for people that really like their music, they were huge to them. And I was one of them. And it was weird. I was like, oh shit. Cause Maddie, I think, is younger than me. So I was like, that's crazy that he would be into this band that I was into in high school. Cause I feel like it would have been way after his time.
Right.
But,
and it's Christian rock.
Oh yeah. Oh, like yeah. So I hit up, Jesse Lawson, cause he's been doing some work with Maddie's solo project stuff on the side out of his studio. And Jesse did our record with us, Volatile. And so I was like, Jesse, I was like, hear me out. I had this idea. I was just kind of thinking about it. And I was like, and if he'd be down, I just started following him on TikTok, Matty Mullins. Mm-hmm. And he does like Amber Lynn and like other covers. Plus he does like isolated vocal takes of his performance of some of their songs. And I was like, you know what? Like, I think he'd be interested in doing this. And we did have this, like, he's never probably going to remember that time that we were on the bus doing that. But if he does, and even if he doesn't, I know that he likes that song because that reaction was genuine. And he was jumping all over the bus, like just being a lunatic, just singing and going, just like how he would frontman that song. And it was hilarious. I was like, it was a really cool experience. And I had never really listened to them or heard, I'd heard of them, but I never listened to them. And we missed their show because it was after the show. Like they were done playing by the time we got over the river. So to be able to sit down with him and see him be like that energetic about a song that wasn't his and engaged with it. So I pitched it to Jesse. I was like, I want to do this song. You and I have been trying to find a way to collaborate through studio and recording. Like, I'd love to have you and Maddie both on this if you think he'd be able to be interested. And he was like, dude, get me a demo. He's like, I'll send it over. We'll see what he says. So we'll see what happens.
Nate Peterson, the other Nate. He's the other Nate. I'm the original Nate, even though he's older than I am. But I mean, props to him. He had that turned around to you in like, what, an hour?
Yeah, did he send that to the group thread? Yeah.
He does that to me too. Like, I'm doing this ridiculous thing where, you know, I'll get bored and just start recording covers or something. And I'll be like, hey, Nate, we should like collab. And he's like, all right. And 10 minutes later, he'll like send me like a minute of a song.
Right.
And I'm like, how the hell did you do that so fast?
Because
he just like bangs them out like that.
He understands, and he's probably been the person I've known as understanding this the longest. If it's good, lay it down. Like it's good. Yeah. Like it's already there. And some songs come together like that. And it's I will say it's astonishing, like the number of songs that he writes that I'm like, damn, I immediately know where I want to go with this and what I'm going to do with this. Mm-hmm. And he has just always had that gift, like however it is that he writes or whatever his influences are, however it marries itself into his, like the marrow of like the bones of his songwriting capabilities. He's just always been able to do, if he's got a good thing down, it's easy for him to put a minute together. The drums are like negligible. It's like, this is the foundation. This is something to play along. This works. It's 4/4, whatever. If it's got the right groove or whatever, maybe it's not exactly going to be this, but this is a great skeleton. And dude, he can put out skeletons all day and the skeletons are good, you know? Yeah. So like if you get that skeleton in a bodybuilder body, he can now flex a little bit and do some stuff. Yeah. He's super gifted, man. Like I'm really, really blessed to have him in the band. And like, even if he decides he doesn't want to do Relic Hearts anymore, I'm like, sorry, bro, you're still writing music with us. Like, I don't know how to tell you, you didn't get out of it, I guess, but.
That guy has so many side projects too. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And they're all good.
Yeah. And they're all very different.
Yeah, for sure. Cause he's different. Like he is this perfect amalgam of everybody. Like he's got a bunch of different things that he's into. So he'll listen. He listens to a bunch of different stuff. He's going to want to write a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
And, it's been cool that like when Boss was still alive and he was in the band, he was doing a lot of learning from him. Like he was like really he wasn't afraid to ask questions and kind of be humble around Boss, which was like really easy to kind of like feel like you don't need to be because, you know, Boss was so good and he knew he was so good, but he's like, I'm not good because like I'm a virtuoso. He's like, I practiced to be this good.
Yeah.
Like, this happened not by accident. And Nate was just like not afraid to ask him questions. And so it was really cool to see how much he's developed since Boss has passed away, like where he's really stepped up in our songwriting space. Mm-hmm. And I think he kind of shouldered the burden a little bit of people being like, well, if Boss isn't in this band anymore, like the songwriting is going to suffer for sure. And worthwhile comment to give us, you know, like we know when he passed away that like we lost like a vital part of our songwriting identity. And we had so many things in the works that I wish we were able to have seen cross the finish line.
Yeah.
But, you know, to start over and have like a different vision and have it be at least a little bit more core aligned with like the styles that everybody else in the band are into when it comes to like pop punk and nu metal and rock and hardcore and whatever. Like that was definitely a lot less of Boss's style. So the thing that we lost was a different part or a kind of, I guess, like expression of soul. And so that's going to have to manifest in a new way if we're still going to have it connect with people. And I feel like Spitfire really does that. Spitfire was like this really good learning process. And I think that's the reason it took so long. I was like, I don't want to just rush something out there. Like, you know, I want to spend time on it. I want to hit the benchmark that we want to hit.
Yeah, that's a great tune. There's a lot going on in it too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, I think everybody says this, but there's a lot of genres in there kind of mixed together. So. And
that's reminiscent of all my favorite artists. Like, and if you do it and you do it right, and I feel like this is a good like execution of that.
I love that I get to hear these tracks before anybody else, and I can sit here and talk about them, and everyone's like, "What the hell is he talking about?"
I just look at everything as less our baby. So like, I want you invited to the demo folder so that you can come through and be like, "Hey, I got a melody idea for this part," even if it's not a song that I'm working on at moment. Like I've got a bunch of songs that are started, and all I got to do is finish like the chorus, and then I'll go through and I'll track everything. And so like, I'm interested in hearing what somebody else's take on something is, because it's going to be different than mine. And if it's different than mine and there's something about it I like, even if I like something I did more in one way or another, I'll find a way to hybrid them to see if there's a way to combine them and have like the best of both worlds so that we both get what we want out of the situation. And then the end result is usually something that's even more unique and more interesting to me and more in tune with what I would want to hear us put out.
Yeah.
Can't be afraid to collab, man.
Right. I think the Royals cover was a good example of that. Like, I mean, it's still getting massive amounts of listening.
It has dipped down in our Spotify, but that song was actually largely our Last Night and Matt. It was mostly Matt. Like I basically came up, they were like, we don't know if we're going to do vocals to this. And I think in hindsight, they wish they probably would have, but I was like, well, if you're not going to do anything with it, like I'll do it. And I don't remember I think that was when, I don't remember if they were in Boston or where they were. I think they were living in Boston at the time when I went up and did vocals to that. I'm pretty sure, because Matt had like a little downstairs like studio room that he was recording in. And because I remember doing the harmony parts and like having to go through and do like the 5-part harmonies and like the Royals.
Yeah. That was all you?
Yeah.
Nobody else?
I don't think so.
Wow.
I don't think anyone else did anything vocally on that. But yeah, like, but also, testament to a song being written in a way that was kind of weird. I think Matt's argument was like, I just don't feel like it sounds like us, really. And I was like, I mean, what does that mean? If anything, I was trying to convince him, like, bro, that doesn't mean anything. You can sound like whatever you want. Like whatever you put out is you. We just did budget bangers for Sheets, and I don't know if we're a hair metal band from the 80s, but I think we could be if we really wanted to be.
I think Steve would love that.
Oh, of course he would. If I had time to bring Steve into the project and it wasn't a fast turnaround, it was his birthday today too. So like yesterday. Yeah. So getting him like in to do anything like that while he was on the road is not going to be as possible. But yeah, man, like just going back to like the you doing photography thing, I'm really proud. Like for whatever reason, you listened to me and kept trying. I'm glad that you did, because I was like, I know that's how it works. It's literally just who do you whittle down their resistance the fastest to? You know, like eventually some promoters are gonna be like, yeah, sure, and then you get in, and then it's all. The networking is a big part of it, but also like you have to build. You have to have the catalog, and you're getting that. And if you can, like, even if it is for free and it's just like whatever, eventually somebody sees your work and is like, hey, would you be interested in doing this like on retainer for, you know, I don't know if Josiah is still with him, but he was with Shawn Mendes for a while. And then I just saw my buddy Matty Vogel's birthday was the other day, and he's been out with like Billie Eilish, 30 Seconds to Mars, like just Paris, like a bunch of people. Yeah. And he just finished up John Mayer's last date of his tour for Tom Falcone, who like couldn't do that date. So like, these are dudes that for whatever reason I was lucky enough to be in a Sprinter van in Europe and Russia with at some point or another, traveling through the US, and like that is testament to the fact that if you just keep doing it and eventually you put yourself in positions where like you meet enough of the right people, you work for a management or a label, or you do something for an artist and you submit it and they like your work. It's like, hey, if they've got any dates nearby and you don't have somebody out with them, I'd love to be able to do this. And now bands are starting to get a little bit better about doing it with like bringing out videographers and photographers and stuff. And if they're smart, keeping them separate so that photo can focus on photo and video can focus on video. Sure. They're different animals. Like you want quick photos at the end of the show to post to like get people excited about the show they just went to. Cool. Get some crowd shots so people can start tagging themselves in it. And like, you have to be like diligent about your planning and strategy behind how you do your, what you capture. And if you do it right, and then it's upload, you give them 10 photos to dump onto Instagram, and then they put them out there, everybody's like, oh, then get those immediately. And then you have your videographer basically has the night shift while you're traveling. He's got to sit there and assemble like an edit together. But if you like you said, if you go into it and you know what you're trying to shoot, you can kind of like build like not a template necessarily, but you can figure out like how you're going to assemble stuff. That's I had the weirdest one that I did it for was Sleeping with Sirens, because I had no planning going into that. And then like the Winterfest date that we did that year leading up to the Olympics, Good Charlotte's entire camera crew showed up, and all their super nice like Red Dragon cameras, the sensors wouldn't warm up, and it was like freezing. It was like below freezing. So like the sensors wouldn't turn on, but my Sony A7S II did. So I'm out there like filming Good Charlotte handheld and with my gimbal and trying to get some cool shots and standing up on like speakers back behind stuff to get like good angles. And, you just have to kind of, if you think about what I liked about that imagery from old punk rock music videos and stuff like that, and old Warped Tour videos, it's like kind of the chaos. Like you kind of like the chaos of it. So like if you're in the pit and you're taking photos, it's really easy to get into the chaos there. Kellen used to do this thing where he would like jump out into a crowd at a certain point of a song. And I was like, I want to be wide. I want to catch him. I want to like fall. I want to be underneath him. I want to catch him running off stage and doing that. And if I did it once and it made it into the video, and some of my videos that I put out for them for their live recaps were like some of their most streamed videos until recently. The guy they have doing, Nicholas Stofford, that's doing their stuff now, is fucking incredible. And he's got a full rig with him that he's running when he does it. So it's, no mistake. I saw him at Union Transfer last year, and I did photo, and I tried to capture some pictures and videos of him. So, cause I was like, dude, you never get these when you're the photographer, videographer. No, so that's an easy win. If you're a photographer or a videographer and you get booked to do a show, take some photos, snap some video of the tour photographer and videographer in action and get it to them. That's an easy networking opportunity. If you're worth your salt and you can get a good shot of them doing it, and it's, framed right, and it's like that one they want to use as their banner picture on their page or whatever, like you have no idea how much the impact of that goes further if they're like, dude, thank you so much for capturing that.
I think I've gotten more followers on Instagram from taking photos of other photographers and the crowd. People love crowd shots. Like if they find themselves in it. Yeah. I make friends with, when I'm shooting in the pit, I'll make friends with that first line.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those are the ride or dies. Yeah. They're not going anywhere. Mm-mm. And you're going to be like, I'm relying on you guys. When I post these, you got to tag yourselves. Yep. Share them. And, people do it. It's easy on Instagram. You do it as like, if that's your main picture is like a front row shot of the crowd or whatever, and their hands are all up, you post it, and immediately they can go through and they can, if you share it and then they try to share it to their story, they can share it to their story, put a little circle around them. So, one of those animated circles, show where they are. And now people know they were at that show, and that show is linked to you, but that show is of this. And then if that band sees it and you tag them in it and they share it and they do the same thing, it's like, it just kind of keeps going. And that's the sort of process that you have to follow when it comes to capturing your content. You got to think about where it's going to go and how you can kind of stretch the life of that a little bit more.
Yeah. And I think you made a good point talking about how, all these people shot up with all these people. Like, this seems like a huge industry.
Super.
There's not a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of people doing this, but there's not a lot of people that are like calling the shots. So I don't know how to really get out what I'm trying to say here, but like, I've shot probably maybe 35, 40 bands over this last year. And the PR reps that I've been working for, I think there's 3 or 4 of them that cover all these bands. So like, I don't know, just building these relationships is super important if you want to do this, because everybody knows everybody else. Yeah. And if you make the wrong move with somebody or you piss the wrong person off, everybody else is going to know about it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're definitely not wrong, man. I think, how do you feel, just to switch tactics here for a second, did you follow that Spotify just made this change to the way they're going to distribute money to
artists? Like if you don't have
1,000 streams,
you're not getting your nickel.
Yeah. So yeah. You're not getting your $3. Yeah. Yeah, whatever it is, right? 0.003. So if that 30 cents, is that what it is? Yeah.
Something like that.
Probably like something like that. Yeah, because it's a couple thousand, like just to make $1, I think, which is absurd, right? Because I can't listen to any record that I've loved that I for sure paid $15 to $20 for. Like, we need to adjust. So I'm torn. I have mixed feelings about it because I'm like, hey, that sucks. Like when you're a small artist, like literally sometimes that every little bit does help.
Yeah.
But also everybody is paid off of the collective amount of royalties that are their total monthly. So if people that are not getting that much out there, like there are thousands of artists that are getting less than that 1,000 streams a month, but 1,000 times thousands is streams. Is still a large number. It does pay out a certain amount. So if that would start to influx and affect the people that are definitely over that hump, then it just means the barrier to entry now is, that is the new local kid having a download card instead of a CD, right? You're like, okay, you got 998 streams. You just needed 2 more. And so what can you do this month that's going to help you push that over the top? And so there's this part of like being a musician that we don't really identify as being self-analytical that you do need to be. Like you actually have to like sort of look inward and self-address and be like, what can I be doing differently? Can I be doing things better? Whatever your metric for success is, like even for photography. So take it out of the music side of things. Cause I think it's good. I think if the pool stays the same, but there's now more money to be paid out amongst the artists that are breaking that barrier, we're definitely in there. So like, obviously I have the right bias to say it makes sense for me. I'm super happy about it. But if there were times where we weren't getting 1,000 streams a month, and there is a way you can do better at that. You can have a better online presence. You can be out there more. You can be pushing yourself. If you're playing shows and you play a bunch of shows a month, but you don't connect with your audience and you don't build your engagement with the audience of people that are there to see you, it doesn't matter. Right. They're dead streams. Like, so Spotify actually has this new stat right now that's like your active audience. So it's like, yeah, you will see like tens of thousands of monthly listeners, but like of the core audience of people that are like the diehards that are like playing it and streaming, looping albums, going back and starting this playlist from the top and running it through, like that number is going to be smaller. And that's your real audience. That's the number that if you got up to like 200 and you could get into like a $10 a month Patreon system, you could be making bank as a band, right? Just by having the people that already like what you're doing invested in getting more from you. And you're basically beholden to them to do that. So like, if you're a photographer and you want to build, you got to be analytical. Like if I'm shooting on all these like zoom lenses, I'm going to have a harder time getting the aperture as open as I want, or the right bokeh, the right depth of field, the right look that I'm looking for this shot. And, literally the only reason I own a 70 to 200 2.8 is for concert photography, so that I can get the shot I want from no matter where I am, as long as I can get the line of sight that I want and still have it be sharp.
I have tried to take my whole rig with me, like my whole lens collection, because it'll fit in my backpack. Yeah. I use 2 lenses. Right. For every, I use my 24 to 105, which is f4, but it's L. So it's amazing. Sharp. And then I have the old
that
80.
Lens is like unusually sharp too. I don't have that lens, but I've shot it a few times and I really, really like it.
I even switched to, I got a Canon R now. So, but my lens is still EF. I will not get rid of that thing. Right. It's going to.
Do you have a backup body?
Yeah, I have the 6D still.
Yeah, so I mean, my 6D would be like my 51.4 or whatever, whatever. That would be the one that would be like, it's here. And
that's the one that goes into the pit with me when I go into the pit. Because if someone kicks it, I don't give a shit.
Right, I'm not going to have a hernia whenever I freak out and have to kill half the audience and then also try to pick up pieces and cry. Yeah, it's a lot. It is kind of like, there needs to be sort of like of all the photographers that I know, like Matty, actually, I've seen him post some photos of lenses that didn't survive. Like he'll do crazy stuff. Like he'll mount one up on the rafters just so he can get the one shot that he wants with the strobe light to light up the whole crowd and get like the look that he wants. And it's just up there waiting for the right moment where like, lead singer center stage and they're like this and the whole crowd has all their hands up. That shot is a moment that if you build it into your set, is coming every night. Yep. And so to have something that's up there on a trigger ready to just be like flick, 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 get 100 of these. Like I want to be able to go through and find the one that I absolutely love and it's mounted and it's not going anywhere. But God forbid, like that clamp slips.
Yeah. You're not fixing it.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like your body might survive if it eats at lens first, but the lens is gone for sure, no matter what. But yeah, it is funny. You kind of always gravitate towards like a handful of lenses.
Yeah, that one. I have an old 80 to 200. Yeah, 80 to 200 from like the 90s that I use.
A Canon lens?
Yeah.
Like an old FD lens?
Yep. It's an EF. It's 2.8 L. So it's also L series.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've tried to take I have a 17-40 L. I can't. I've used it like twice. Right. I always gravitate to that 24-105 and then the 80-70 when I'm behind the crowd.
Yeah. I want to get I'd like to get a full frame. Alex is thinking about he's been trying to sell this fisheye lens that he has. I think it's just like an 8mm. And actually I forget I listed it on eBay and it didn't sell. So like, I think I'm just going to buy it off of him the next time I go down there.
Yeah.
But that lens is really great for a handful of kind of shots too. It's like everything's just stylized. If you want a particular look to your shot, sometimes the lens has to get weird, and then sometimes your positioning and where you are has to get weird. And either one of those can be a part of whichever recipe. Sometimes it can be both. You can mix and match whichever seasonings you want, but like you have to be willing to kind of play the angles and get around and move around. And I feel like a lot of people kind of stick into a spot and they're like, I'm just going to get these shots here, but you get a lot of the same shots. And I'm like, for me, I want to see a little bit of the background. I want to see some of it you want to look upwards because then you feel like you're an audience member looking upwards. Some of them you want to have like that over the heads of the crowd shot, looking at the stage.
Yeah.
You just have to kind of like pick and choose your moments. And it's hard to do. I think you have the harder opportunity right now because when you're doing it, you're going into every show not knowing how the full production goes.
Right.
So you're really relying on just being in the right place at the right time to capture that moment. So if you do, you struck iron where it was hot. But like when you're with a tour consistently and you're there every day and you know that these are the moments that are baked into the set, it's like, oh, okay, all right, I can plan it around that. And so now I guess like the only thing you could do otherwise would be to watch some of the recently live streamed versions of some of these performances that are going on. So you can be like, oh, when they play this song, look out for this moment and make sure I'm at this spot where I want to be.
That's what I was going to say. That's if I could give, photographers that want to get into this any advice, see if, go and see if you can find previous shows of who you're shooting. So you know what's coming, because 9 times out of 10, they're doing the same stuff every night, inside the same songs. So
yeah, man,
know where you want to be.
Playing those shows is a marathon. Like you're doing a 45-minute long like run and you're like, okay, I want this. You're building it out to be the strongest thing possible for everybody who's going there to see it one time.
Right.
But if you can stick the landing on all the beats along the way, then you really put it together. So it behooves the bands to be like, linearly able to put that together. And then if you're a band that gets an encore, like, you have your 2 or 3, or maybe you don't do it, whatever comes into play.
I think one of my, well, in terms of numbers, one of my best shots on Instagram was a shot of Villavallo, of VV, and it used to be him.
Yeah, you kept saying that in the text thread. Like I was like, who? And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, jerk. But oh my God, I grew up on him. Like
some people did.
Him was my lifestyle in high school.
Had the T-shirt. I for sure had the hat. I had the backpack patches. The whole nine.
The belt buckle. The wallet.
With the wallet chain.
Yeah, I did 100%.
The Jinkos with the print on the back.
Yeah. Let's move away from that subject, but I personally really don't like the shot, but everybody seems to love it. I took it with the 17 from, below. Villa's legs are like 2/3 of the frame, and then it's just his body. Like it's so horribly distorted, but everybody loves it.
Because of that angle.
This is garbage.
Right. But that's proof. You can't be the litmus test for whether or not your art is good. At the end of the day, what I think is good, sure, is good to me. But I'm not everybody.
Yeah.
And like, I think that's kind of the thing that we've seen through the advent of TikTok and media creation for artists is like, you can do, if you're a band and you're releasing a single, there's like 40, 50 videos you got to do of you just singing the chorus to your song in the moment and whatever that looks like for your band and your artistry or whatever. But by doing it a bunch of different ways, your odds of finding that audience are better because you've got a wider spread. But then you can cycle through and post these things like multiple times and see when it catches, and it will. My friend Karen Dixon, she used to be in My Hero Zero in town, and she'd had like a solo career in the area, but she's been jet setting to Nashville and doing some songwriting, and she got picked up by an agent for her songwriting, and she's releasing a song, and she's been posting like TikToks repeatedly, like new videos of her just singing it, and some of the videos are good, and some of them are just like her from her phone, and I said that in the mean way. I didn't mean it that way. But, And now like this person who, 2 years ago, if I told her she had to be posting on TikTok every day, would be like, I don't want to do that. That sounds really boring. But she's seeing the fruits of her labor by posting every day. Like her posts are getting more likes. The reach is growing and it's getting out there. And, that's something we're getting to explore more with our art. And I feel like that hurts for people that are like, well, I was just barely figuring out how to create visual art for my music. And now I got to create waste so much more than I had ever anticipated just to kind of like keep up with supply and demand of like, the audiences out there. But that's what you get when the market's saturated. There's just so many different artists now. Covers are done by everybody now. So if you're not the first one, you better be the best one.
Yep.
And then you better put some money into it to make sure it gets seen. Like there's just some rules that are involved. And if you don't like those rules, then play the game better, I guess. I don't know.
It's funny too how like your tastes change in such a short amount of time. Cause I'll go back through, if I'm dry between shows, so I go 2-3 weeks without shooting a show, I try to post on Instagram at least once a day. If I start running out of photos, I'll go back through. For example, I shot Cage the Elephant like 3 or 4 years ago, but I'll still go back through and look at the raws and be like, oh, I kind of like the shot, but it never saw the light of day. And I'll re-edit it, put it back out,
I feel bad for the amount of footage and photos that I keep that I'm like, oh, what if I want to use this later? And a lot of it is just sitting there taking up ample space.
Oh yeah.
But there is something to that for sure. And I guess the only thing you could really think of to do would be to get into the practice of creating three versions, doing like your full color robust one, maybe your black and white version of that, and then like a two-tone for each picture. And then once you start getting those presets and whatnot dialed in for what you like for that, you just, create it for that shoot and then run through and then apply them each to that. So that each photo you like, you have the variation that you wanted on it and tweak it to taste and export it. So that at least whenever you need that extra content, you're getting 3 for every 1 photo you get.
Or also I'll go back through and delete old posts and repost, the photo. And just to see how it does.
Get the new
look and be like
dopamine hit.
Nate, like lay off the clarity slider, dude. Like bring it down a little bit and then repost it. And it's like, that looks much better.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, dude, like there's filters on the apps too. And so I feel like it's almost like sacrilegious if I've dialed it in on my camera or on my computer whenever I'm editing. And then like I go to my phone, I'm like, let's put Clarendon on this for like on Instagram. 10%, it's just 10%. And for some reason, that slight blue hue to the shadows just like rounds things out in a better way, I guess, for the screen, which ultimately is the like I said, the means where everybody's watching this. Like most people aren't flipping through Instagram on their TV, No. So like if that's where they're at, then this is what you got to do. Have you been doing much with Reels?
I just started, actually. I have so much, like I said, every once in a while, if I get time in the pit and they said that, I'm allowed to shoot video or didn't say that I can't shoot video.
Didn't specify.
Right. I'll take a little bit of video. So I have a ton of backlog of just footage. Yeah. And I've been starting to throw it together. So
I've been saying for easily the better part of 13 years that I'm going to put a reel together, like a professional reel. And I've definitely got stuff that I can make like a minute long reel easily that showcases pretty much the breadth of all kinds of things that I'm capable of doing.
Yeah.
I feel like if I don't have somebody else do it, I'm just never gonna do it.
I don't want to say I don't have time, but like I have a really hard time doing things for myself.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I have so many projects with other people that I'm just like, I can wait.
Right.
Like I'll do a lot of bursts of an artist, when I'm shooting, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to make GIFs out of this. It's going to be so cool. Ask me how many GIFs I've made, but like
0.
Yeah. But I have like hundreds of like sequences that look so cool. Like if you look at the still, there'll be a cool still in there.
Yeah.
But like it would make an awesome sequence.
For sure.
But I won't go back and do it. I'm like, I don't have time to do this. I got to move on to the next thing.
Right. I don't know what it is about our brains, dude. It's like something about like, this isn't providing the right dopamine hit, actually. Right. So I think I'm just not going to do this right now. Maybe later. I'll do it later.
Mm-hmm.
When does that later ever come?
It never does.
I'm guessing that for Spitfire, we're going to have to kind of like, I don't know. Maybe we just got to get together and spend like 2 hours in the box, like just in this shit together, like suffering and being like, okay. Do you have a mobile rig for running Unreal and stuff like that? Or like how we want to
run everything on my MacBook Pro. So I'll just bring it in.
Yeah. We'll set up and we'll just like sit down and kind of like start to crank through something. We just got, like I said, we just got to get like a 15-second clip.
Yeah.
Everybody in it in a wide, everybody in it in a full band, just to show that we can get it done to the caliber and degree we want to. Requires way less processing that way. And at least then we can block it up. We can say like, okay, we're going to do the whole video. Let's start with the intro, and let's go that route. I still want to truncate the song so that whenever we release it, it doesn't have the huge intro because it takes so long to build up. But
that's the part. And like you said, we need to build these clips, but I'll get in there and start working and then be like, what the hell are we going to do during this intro?
Right.
No one's playing an instrument.
Right.
What I need to build this world and show it off, but I don't know what that world is.
Well, part of it I want to do, I think we can actually get around by doing some stuff at that J.W. Cooper Center. I'd like to go back down there, I think maybe, and set up something with like a character or something like that to kind of tee it up. And there's so much space in there. There's room for like a dialogue or like a broadcast or something like that. And so I think it might be cool to do some sort of like guerrilla radio kind of makeshift, kind of like, you have 3 kids or something like that carrying around what looks to be like a ham radio and like in a post-apocalyptic world. Imagine this kid has to like crank a thing that like doing this is what gets like the electricity buzzing going so that this thing will turn on. And then, it's like a call to action or a call to for help or something like that. And maybe that's a part of the story. I don't know. Like
Spitfire flies out of the radio.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, for sure. I don't know where it's going to go, but I think there's some ways that we can get through. Like some of that scenery is like really dilapidated inside. So if we film it in the right way and color it and post the right way, we can get the look that we're going for in terms of like matching. I'd rather match that to our world than have to do vice versa. But either might be easy, either might be, possible. But I think it's just going to come down to us like really kind of starting to we just got to get that 15-second spread together and start tweaking it and get after it. And I think if I can just do that, then we're right where we need to be to kind of start moving on to the next steps in categories to where we'll start knocking it out. If we can do 15-second blocks at a time, cool.
Yeah.
That intro area would be great because there's nothing going on. So it's not like we have to worry about syncing anything to anything yet.
Oh, God.
So I think that's the move, is like just to start doing it. And I think we'll have some time over the holidays where we like can't do anything else. So I think that's honestly when we're going to get to attack it. So I'm looking at releasing it in I'd like to maybe see about getting it out by end of January and then letting a campaign run from like through February, through March, into April.
Be a nice Valentine's Day gift for somebody.
Yeah. And in the meantime, I would like to really kind of fine tune and finish and knock out some of these other singles. We've got some that we wanted to get done for a while now, and 5 of them just about in the can, ready to be done. They just got to be finalized and then sent out for mix and master and have the bells and whistles put into them production wise.
Yeah.
Well,
that's great.
It is only 4:30.
Yeah.
Really?
We can keep going if you want.
Oh, yeah. No,
where's the
good.
intern?
Carlos.
How hard do you edit these things? Because I feel like I was kind of just like,
No, you're good. We can keep going. I thought for some reason it was. I forgot we shifted back and that clock hasn't been set back, so I thought it was 5:30.
No,
so
that
was just my bad. I'm just being an idiot.
We're good. That's fine.
So what else?
Give me some water.
What else do we got to talk about?
Yeah.
There's a bottle over
Sorry,
there.
that was super mean. I didn't.
Yeah, his name's Carlos. He's a whole ass human being, and he's got a lot of shit going on right now.
Thanks, buddy. He's spitting this one.
He's got
He's like
that scene out of Ryan Reynolds' movie. He's the waiter at that restaurant.
Waiting. Yeah.
I got a plethora of shows coming up, so depending on when you edit this, I don't know if it's going to be before or after, but.
Oh, well, if I get this one done, I've got this, and I've got 2 filmmakers that were in town for the Center Film Festival from New York that were doing they're doing a feature film called Beanie, and they have Annie Golden. I don't know if you watched Orange Is the New Black. She was she was the one girl in prison who like didn't speak. She was like really quiet, and I got to do like a table reading with her.
That's awesome.
And met them and these producers from New York that are a film company that want to start reaching out and filming here because there's like grant money and capabilities in this area.
And State College.
Yeah, in the center region. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So and in Pennsylvania in general, but also here. And
I'm actually surprised at how huge the film industry is in Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
Even more recent years, Zach and Miri Make a Porno was done there. Dawn of the Dead, like the OG one, I think, was done there.
Yep.
Yeah, George Romero, I think, really liked the area.
Batmans. Which Batman was it? The one with Bane.
Yeah. The Dark Knight.
That was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that was, Three Rivers. I remember that. Well, so yeah, I did a podcast with them. I have a podcast with my mentor, Jeff Hoffman, that I got to get done. And it's done. I actually just want to truncate like a small section of it out that I just don't want in there, where I was talking about like my kidney health and for no reason. I'm like, what am I doing?
I have too many kidneys.
I watch myself in hindsight sometimes whenever I'm having conversations like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's so bad, especially when I listen to the podcast and I know I talk for like the first 35 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm out of practice. I've been out of practice.
I'm not much of a talker though, so I need someone
that makes
like
you
you
the worst
to like
podcast guest.
Get me in there, you know, like.
Yeah. But you have really interesting things to say. Like, I love that whenever we work together, we see a lot of the same things. And that to me is actually the real barrier to entry, and whether or not you have a good working relationship with somebody is whether or not you can see the same things that you're trying to address. And like, it's really easy with you if we're like looking at a monitor and being like, yeah, I feel like the highlights are a little blown out, and it's in a way that works. I feel like we could let it go, you know, like whatever the nuanced particular subject is, like it does just sometimes work.
I think it's hard too when you're the creator, but also you're the person that's in the video. Because like, I think when we were shooting Spitfire, I noticed that you were struggling when you would go into the chorus, because like there's a scream and then, but like you don't cut it off.
Right.
And you go right into singing.
Yeah.
And there was always that like weird transition there. So I'm like, all right, let's shoot one where you just do the scream.
Right.
And then just do the chorus and don't try to do the same in the same take.
Yeah. And sometimes like the little tails of pre-chorus section going into that chorus is different from this one to the second one. I'd like to not keep things done exactly the same the whole way through the song. If I can find some variation or means of like adjusting things so that you don't get used to hearing the same thing over and over again. Like part of that is beneficial, but you can do it slightly differently and not lose that repetitive, easily learnable factor, and still find a new way to kind of integrate some sort of weird artistic flair into this moment or whatever.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple shows coming up.
Yep.
And after basically doing this episode, I think maybe I should do one more. I got to do one actually with Carlos, because I got to get one before he rolls out of town. Because we got to do our end of internship one where we can talk about the things that we learned and like things that we come across and like what our experience was like. Because I think that'll be good overall for him to take moving forward, and for me, like this has been an experience. Like I've actually never had an intern of my own that I could like sit down and like work with, and I thought he was my B candidate, and he couldn't have been more the platinum package. Like I got so lucky to have him as my intern. He's like,
that's horrible.
He
was my B candidate.
Well, it wasn't, it wasn't intentional. Like I think we basically largely almost missed each other at the career fair where we met. And then he was like, well, if you got a second to talk, like I can ride with you and you can just drop me off downtown somewhere. I was like, you know what? I backed that energy. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
And he like, first time we met, he hopped in my car and I dropped you off on like College Ave somewhere after we talked for a little bit.
Well, whenever he's on here, I'll switch and I'll be the intern.
Yeah.
And then
that'll be great.
I'll run the little switcher.
So if I do that, that gives me 4 episodes, and that puts me at 4 episodes to start releasing. That's a month worth of releases right there. So that would be my game plan. And then I just I can start cycling some people back in that I haven't had in a while that there's things now that the workflow is finalized, but just as soon as we get that situated, this podcast studio is going to be no more by the end of the month. So I need to get everything set up in a new place and then kind of think about how I want to do the layout. If I want to keep the same table set up, or if I want to switch to something that's a little bit more relaxed, maybe get like 2 nice couches or something, like a couch and a chair or something like that, and have the ability to kind of modularly shift between both and then see what looks the best and works the best. But yeah, so I figured that's my game plan. By the end of the month, I'll be out of here. So if I don't do one more in here real soon, I'll have to wait until I get to the new studio.
You got to get Nick in here. I think Nick would be a really good guest.
I did.
He'd be just. Oh yeah, that's right. You did. I did see that one.
Yeah, I did. We did a podcast together, and then actually he came up last Friday. We did a shoot for the "You Are My Sunshine" music video, and he was like, "I want to do like sort of like a video at the end explaining like why we decided to cover that song." Yeah. And I was like, "All right, let's do it." So he came up and we sat down and we recorded one or filmed one, and I had like the sessions already edited and everything. I just have to finish that video. But I've been dealing with Alex and getting stuff distributed. Like the life of an artist in 2023, if you were distributing your music or art through any channel that requires like a lot of like checklist stuff to be done before you're done, is super, super cumbersome sometimes. And I think we're sitting on like 4 singles that I would basically like to start releasing and be releasing every every week until the holidays, basically.
Yeah.
And
we got to finish Spitfire though.
Yeah, I really, really, really do want to get that done, especially as we're getting into the holidays. Oh, and then we have this love drafts thing. Like
Battle of the Bands.
The Battle of the Bands. It's been a hot minute since we've done a Battle of the Bands.
The Insurrection show.
Yeah, hilarious. So when we took the show opportunity, or when we applied for this opportunity, it was a Battle of the Bands. There were a couple categories, and every category had its own date. And our date was supposed to be January 13th. I was like, cool, that's mid-month. That's about whenever we start getting our legs back on us for the year anyway. We'll be fine. And then they moved it to January 6th. I thought maybe they put us in the wrong category or something like that, but they didn't. They put us in the wrong category. They just moved the wrong category to January 6th. So it's Insurrection Fest 2024. Cannot wait.
I can be there for that one. So
yeah, you can.
That's good. I'm glad they moved it. So
yeah. And we've never played there, and we've seen some really cool shows come through there. So I think for us, we were interested in getting into the venue. And I think Nate found this opportunity and was like, hey, like we should reach out and submit. So I submitted, and they got back and said, hey, you guys are on. This is the date you guys play. We'll have more details for you soon.
Nice.
And, but a whole week earlier, now I'm like, oh, we are coming up on the end of November right now. So we've got like a window of time between, I don't think we'll get together to rehearse between, if we get one in next week, which is possible, that'll be our last chance before the holidays, where we'll get maybe one in December or something like that. And then maybe one the week of the show, just to get kind of like dialed in. But it's not a full set. I thought we would get like a half an hour. It's like 10 bands each night. Like you want to give them half an hour, have this thing go for a while. No, you get like 15 minutes minimum, 20 minutes maximum. And if you go over, they start to like penalize you or whatever.
Wow.
So
Tool will get like one song.
Right. Half a song.
Yeah.
And so to me, I was actually like, oh, that's actually kind of sick, because then we can just play the bangers. If I'm warmed up, like I'll crush that set, and then we're out of here.
Yeah.
That's with interludes and everything. There's like no reverb, no nothing. Like you just have to plug in and play, and it has to like.
So no backing tracks either?
No, there'll be backing tracks.
Oh, okay.
There'll be a PA.
They'll let you do that. Okay.
Yeah, you just have to have control of whatever your rig is. And if you don't have, like, but they're not going to supply reverb or anything. Well, I have like my effects channel for my vocals is already on my thing. So as long as I don't have a feed going to the stage, and everybody else is just going to be on their head rushes. Mm-hmm. So like super quick setup for everybody. I'm assuming they'll do like a house kit, and then Dirk will just have to throw his cymbals up on stage and then be done. Yeah. And then I'm assuming it's going to be like a quick line check. If we're lucky, we go like somewhere in the middle or end or something like that. So we're like one of the last people that people remember, and we put on a good show, which I'm not worried about. But with a 15 to 20 minute set, that means we get to knock off like all the slower parts of our set. And so I was like, that's all the bangers. That's Blood Out for Oblivion. That's The Ugly Truth. That's Spitfire. That's maybe Transgender. Maybe Bridges is probably the other realistic one.
I think Transgender's you got to keep that one.
I definitely like that one, especially as the intro.
Yeah.
And it was the first song on the first record. So it is one of those things where it's like, it's nice. I almost feel like as we start to get a few more of these songs out, it's like, it's easy to tell which ones will probably cycle out that won't be probably seeing as much stage time. But, so we have to have a 15 to 20 minute set for this first one. And then if we win or we place, or the rules are really kind of obscure right now. Actually, I have to send them some questions that we have. But if we play the next one we have to have a 45 minute set. Well, we usually only play like a 30 minute set. So now we got to add some extra songs, and there's like absolutely no covers. So I'm like, okay, that gives us an opportunity to bring up some of the other songs that we have that we haven't released. And so since that is in January, we have time to get those songs done and ready for release. So there will be new songs to drop.
Right.
So that's my game plan, I think, is to get us those 3 more songs laid out and be ready to roll for January for him.
So when you create your set list like this, are you looking at like your analytics like Spotify and seeing what songs are being played the most? Does that weight it at all in what you choose to play?
I think it definitely does weigh on it a little bit, because I mean that's a pretty clear representation of like where a core group of your audience is already kind of aligned.
Right.
And if I go through and I look at our album and I'm like, you can isolate just to our full length and be like, what are the songs that are streamed the most? Mm-hmm. Those are the songs you should play. Like, those are the ones that people know the most. And if they're going to be at this show, I don't know what our audience in Mechanicsburg looks like, but we're going to find out. Yeah. And, Nick's lives there. So like he's definitely going to he's going to be the reason we have a lot of people at that show probably, which is cool. And it's a Saturday show, so it'll be a good time. And, it's not a long show, and I think we'll have a really good time with the crowd. And it's one of those things where like, dude, taking on a battle of the bands is hilarious. Like the concept is hilarious. No artist in the history of ever goes into a battle of the bands and thinks that they're getting a fair shake on the opportunity to win. Somebody's cousin is on the judging panel and knows somebody or whatever. And that's just the way it's going to be. Unless you were there's this phrase, be undeniable. Mm-hmm. And so I've really been trying to adopt that approach to like performing. It's like, I've been really fortunate enough between touring with other artists. Like I was always in awe of watching Our Last Night play. Like they were tight. They had just a pocket groove of energy that they never left. Tim is a great drummer. Trevor's a fucking phenomenal front man. Mm-hmm. Matt is an incredible singer, super tight guitar player. Like they're just a great ensemble live to watch. And if you're lucky enough to see them a lot of times, like I have been, you can internalize what it is and why that worked so well for them. And so to me, they were always undeniable. Like I was like, yeah, there might be the bottom band on this bill, but all of these bands love this band. And I can't even tell you how many tours we did. They're like, dude, I can't believe we're ahead of you guys on this lineup. Like, how are you guys opening this package? And it was like one of those slap in the face insults that you would get. You're like, yeah, I know. Right. And like, you just kind of feel bad, but like, but I definitely like people on the tour themselves, like the artists themselves were like, this feels like an injustice. And they were like very clear about it. So it was nice to see that like that was something that got recognized. And I think if you are undeniable, then that's the only scenario where you win a battle of the bands where somebody's cousin or uncle was on the board or on the judging panel and casting the vote. Yeah.
And then you get picked to play the Warped Tour.
Yeah, I think that's the last. That's the last prom. Well, I think it's going to come back. Franz owns it now, so I'm pretty sure that he has to I think wait 10 years from the last date to start it up again. So that's
close, isn't it?
That's got to be coming. Yeah. I feel like it's been a while. So we'll definitely see that.
84 years.
It's been 84 years. Drops of tour. Tour laminate down in the.
Let me tell you the last time I was at the Warped Tour, I saw Avenged Sevenfold on a side stage.
This sort of been early. It's been like what?
2002 maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is single digits 2000.
Yeah,
yep. The last prominent battle of the bands that we won that I would say that I'm really proud of was the Ernie Ball Battle of the Bands, and that was an all online battle, so it wasn't like we had to go anywhere to compete. We just had to have people that were voting for us every day and coming back and checking our stuff out, and that was easy for us to do because we were playing shows and we had a good community. We built a good strong community and audience around us. And so it was easy to, I think, get that engagement that we needed. And I'd never been to Warped Tour before that date. Like you get your wristbands that day, which you had to struggle to find somebody because production, you find out later, production cannot wait to deal with the local bands that are playing the stage. It's like no two bands are the same ethically, morally, or like organizationally. And for us, we were just super meticulous and excited to do it. And like we won. We had just lost a battle of the bands to play Warped Tour in the same place. And we were like, oh, wouldn't it be so funny if we won both and we had to play 2 sets that day? We'd be like the only band to do that.
Yeah.
And which could have been possible, but we lost the local one that was done at Eleanor Rigby's in Scranton. And then we won the Ernie Ball one, which was like ideally the more prominent and prestigious of them to win. Mm-hmm. And we got to play the Ernie Ball stage, which was smaller than the stage that you won if you played the local stage, the Kevin Says stage. But the Ernie Ball stage, we ended up really honing up with the sound guy, Justin. And you just get to know, like I have vivid memories of seeing them like setting up in the morning for like weeks on end for 3 summers. We won that first battle of the bands. I'd never been to Warped Tour. So my first time stepping on stage, we had a killer crowd for our first Warped Tour crowd. It was phenomenal. And like a couple hundred people deep, like in the area where it's like not meant to really, we looked like we were like one of the headliners.
Legit band,
yeah. Like
you're a legit band.
When you're coming from like playing a bunch of like driving 4 hours to play a show for $30 in gas and oh wait, the promoter dipped out. So we don't even get that. Like, let's go get Sheetz hot dogs on the way home, 2 for $1 and let's call it a night, guys. And so to go from that to that was like already just like culture shock. But yeah, we had a good crowd, and then we used our wristbands to don't tell Kevin Lyman this. We snuck around and we followed the tour for the next 2 weeks up and down the coast, and then we used our wristbands. Local venue security is checking wristbands. They see a wristband, you're like, oh yeah, here's our thing. Mm-hmm. All I gotta do is flash. It doesn't matter. They even know what color. They get a sheet every day that says like, this is the color wristband to be looking for. None of these colors work. Don't let these ones in. As soon as they see wristband, they're like, wristband, cool. Yeah. Like the last thing they're going to do is like pat down this band that is clearly going to give them a hard time if they don't let them in. And so we sold a bunch of records, sold a couple thousand CDs, and used that money. And then the next year we went back and we worked with Tada Catering, Carrie Tedesco and Paul Rossi and Shelly Lynn Brandler. But just like this crazy wild chef, this wild team, Justin Garcia, all these people. And we basically like brought stage meals to the techs and stuff that were at the stages that are like flagshipped out away from where the amphitheater spaces were. And we busted our asses, man. I was making like 80 something. Dirk can confirm. I should have Dirk on to talk about the horrors of like some of our Warped Tour experience. I didn't get to sing with Taking Back Sunday because Jeff Rickley wanted to sing. I think it was like Cute Without the E with them. And they were letting other people sing with them if you wanted to, and you were in one of the bands on the tour. And I was like being given an opportunity to do it. But then at the last second, we needed to make like 80 something peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for like the truck drivers and the bus drivers for every one of them. Yeah. Cause we make these like nightly bags or whatever. And so things that weren't originally a part of our responsibility, because we all worked in food service, we were so fucking good at what we did that we'd be like, okay, we'd be back for lunch and done in like a half an hour, 45 minutes. And they're getting done a lot faster than we thought they would. And like, you know, they're here, and we were earning our stage time that way. Like we go in the morning, check in with Damone Atkinson from Hey Mercedes. And he was like, hey, is there any spots available? There was like a 2-week period of time where a Skylit Drives like RV broke down and they couldn't make the rest of the tour. So we just played their date on their ball stage, and it was great. So we had a really great time doing it, but we busted our asses for that. And in a very thankless way. We weren't paid. We were just surviving off of what we were selling in merch. And if we played, we sold more. If we didn't play, we could at least still sell some merch and for the day and get people into our band and keep up with people. We did as good a job as we could have done being DIY and unsigned. Yeah. And sold, tens of thousands of records. We made good money. Like going to the tour, $20,000, $30,000 down and come back in the positive, and then everybody gets a little paycheck for 2 months of being gone for Warped Tour summer camp. Yeah.
That's one thing that I've learned. God, you mentioned the merch, shooting shows. Like the band is making their most money selling merch. So buy your merch when you're at your shows.
Yeah,
support
for sure.
The band. If you stream their music 1,000 times, they're going to make like a nickel off of you. So
did you see this thing where some band said something about the merch guy, the tip thing? Did you see this? Trevor, just to go back to our last night for a second, he posted something. He was like, this is ridiculous. I hope our merch guy makes $1 million on the next tour. And it's hilarious because like seeing that somebody would complain about all the money that they make, like merch guys realistically probably do make more than any of the other artists on the tour, but they're also only making money on that tour. They're nothing residual is coming their way afterwards. If you're, in the artist or the management side or the publicist side or whatever, you're getting money, booking agent side from things being done with that band passively without you actually ever having to step foot and being there sometimes, unless you're the artist, obviously. But like, I certainly made really good money with our last night and some of the bands that I went out with, like that, no joke. And, you're getting a per diem, and whether that's paid out weekly or whatever. And you just, the idea that they would be like, we're going to start distributing the merch guys tips amongst the entire crew. Cause we understand that some of you guys thought that money was going to the band. It's like, I don't think a lot of people have that confusion. I did AFI's merch at Stage A in Pittsburgh last November, I think around this time.
That show hurts my heart too. We'll get to that in a second, but keep going.
And so I brought Nick. I was like, Nick, do you want to go? Like, I can get you in. If you can help me sell, like we can go, make some money. It'll be a good time to get to see AFI. And he was like, let's go. So we go down, and like that crowd is our age. So they're like, here's this. And then here's a $10 tip. Here's this. Here's a $20 tip. I made like $900 that night. It was, and just tip money. And then I got paid like a flat rate wage to do it for the 3 or 4 hours I had to be there. It was well worth my time on its own, coupled with that. And Nick and I went home happy campers, and we got the CAF. I'm just back there slinging merch, like singing like everything off of Sing the Sorrow. Like,
so this was one of the first, that was one of the first major shows that I like reached out to. I'm like, I'm never going to get this, but I'm going to try anyway. Couldn't find the person that I needed to talk to, because you always want to go through PR if you can. They're the ones making those decisions.
Right.
I just sent an Instagram message to their guitarist, Jade, and I'm like, he's never going to read it.
Did he get back to you?
He got back to me. He's
That's
like,
awesome.
Reach out to this person. They'll get you set up. Got set up. I get COVID the day before the show.
No. Is this that year? This is the one that we would have went to together? Yep. Oh man, buddy, I'm so sorry.
And now I see they're touring with 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah, that tour looks awesome.
I'm pretty sure 30 Seconds to Mars doesn't allow media, so AFI probably won't either, so I'm going to get screwed there.
When I shot 30 Seconds to Mars, it was because Matty Vogel was out with them, and so I was able to get a pass with him. I could reach out and try camps and just be like, hey, Matty, like I have a friend who wants to shoot 30 Seconds to Mars, and I think he'd be a great fit for getting in. Do you think you could possibly swing? He's like at least in with that camp and who to contact. He might be able to do something like that. And that's the other thing, dude, like,
see, this is the collaboration. This is...
Dude, and what harm is it to me to give whatever opportunity I could put in your lap to execute? Like, you're going to get something good out of it. I did. I had no idea what their set looked like, and I got some pretty iconic photos of Jared Leto. And he's like not even just one of my favorite singers. He was also like one of my favorite actors. So like, you know,
I love him in Blade Runner. I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you could have found a better person to play that role. He's so...
creepy,
cold and creepy.
Yeah.
Not to say he's cold and creepy in real life,
He's
but
whatever
like
he needs to be, man. Like he's very dynamic as an actor, man. That and to me, I always looked up to him because I wanted to act and do music. I was doing, you know, independent film and short films, and I was doing music. So I was like, this is a guy that shows like you can see is like it's possible. You can do all these things. You can run a podcast. You can be in a band. You can be a video and photography professional. I was like doing music way before I was an Emmy award-winning editor. Yeah. Like that's. I
like how you just. Oh, I'm an Emmy award-winning editor. You slide that in there.
I had to. One of my old managers was like, "What does that mean exactly? What does that do for you?" I was like, I couldn't tell you. I was like, it's just a thing you have to blow smoke up people's ass, I guess. Basically, like I still haven't bought my several $100 trophy. I think I'm actually probably going to do that. Might be my Christmas present to myself, so I can actually have it. Mm-hmm. But. Yeah, I mean, like it's for people that don't know, it's like it is good for you. It's an accolade. It's just something you want to have on.
It gives you an edge.
Yeah, and so I'm actually going for a Telly and a Webby award this year. They have B2B entries they've added for like B2B style marketing videos, right. And it's the first year. I don't think there's going to be a lot of like people that are aware that it's a thing. And I got KCF to agree to put some of our projects out there and see if we can win it. So I want to pitch them. Like, you know, why not? Like, if we're doing the work and we're spending all the like tens of thousands of dollars to do these different corporate client projects with like huge companies, Fortune 500 companies, let's go for the award. Like, it's a $200 entry fee if we do early entry deadline or whatever. Like, let's go for it. And so that's the early entry deadline's like December 15th. So I've got some time to kind of figure out which one we want to do, or if I want to do all of them or whatever. Maybe crowdsource and see if I can get people that'll help me like pay the fee to get in for like each one. I'd love to do each one in all categories, like all three, see if which one wins. And if any, one of them surely is going to be better than another that will win. I'm so confident, dude. It's not good.
I'll throw some money your way. Then when you win, I can be like, well, I was an angel investor in this.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if I put it in there, I just put you in as like a executive producer for the award. Yeah, dude.
I used to do something similar. So, I used to be a photographer for Penn State, and I would do headshots of scientists all the time. And a couple of my headshots got into like internationally published magazines, you know, research magazines and stuff.
Nice.
So for a while I'd be like internationally published photographer.
Yeah, bro.
But like it didn't have anything to do with concerts. It's just a headshot.
Yeah.
That I probably didn't even get a credit on, but I knew it was there.
Right.
I had the proof. If someone asked, I could be like, it's right here. But
I'm glad that we're seeing sort of this resurgence right now. Like, it's cool to see that Instagram has like the collaborative feature for posting. So when I do reels, like I posted the one that I did of the recap of the fashion show, and I tagged the City Misfits production company that put that on, and then their audience sees it. And then I'm like trying to tag, I got a list of people I got to tag. You can only tag like so many in a comment.
Right.
And I wanted to go through and get everybody in there. And then in doing that, everybody was able to share it. And the reach of that organically and otherwise was like really large. And then they just posted one last night that I did for the one designer, Stella, who was basically like the backbone of seeing that fashion show go off. And I didn't post it, but I got tagged as a collaborator. So then I go a review and I accept it. And like, that's good. Now I think they need to extend that to like up to 5. I think if they could do like, even if they went up another odd number to 3, you know, just to do it, go to the next prime number. And then having that be the means of like getting like, cause usually for events specifically, there's always more than one person you want to have tagged on it.
For sure.
And you don't want anybody to not feel like they're the primary. But if you're the videographer and this is the production company that threw the event, those are the two that are going to get tagged on it if they're the ones producing the content that's being made. But then like all the entertainers and performers, they've been hitting me up like, hey, can I get my footage? Like, hey, can you put an edit together for me? And like I'm being paid by the production company to do these other micro edits, but I want to give them this too because it'll get, you know, that exposure cost is real if exposure happens. I don't want to do something for the exposure, but if I've already shot the thing and all I got to do is put something together, and I know it's not going to take me as much time because I'm so much more familiar with the footage now because I shot it all to assemble this edit and put it together and get it out the door. And now this is the thing that they can post and share and tag and whatever. That's worth it to me. Yeah. And so, because 85% of the work is done, the 15% is all that's left of doing that edit. And that's a little time consuming, but if you can find a way to make it not as time consuming, a little bit more linear, quicker to put together, execute, get it done, get it out, you can actually kind of capitalize on it.
Yeah. I do that a lot too. Like a couple artists have reached out to me after I've done a shoot for Pittsburgh Music Magazine, and they'll be like, hey, can we have our photos? And I mean, I'll just send them a Dropbox link, but like they'll blow the photos up more than I can.
Yeah. So. And I think a lot of people understand, like, look, like photo cred, you know, like at the very least photo cred, that's got to be a minimum. If it's a client that I know has the money, I'm like, listen, I'm not just handing over a bunch of free footage. Like if you want this footage, you can pay, you have the capability. Most people do in this situation pay for this, but I am the arbiter of discretion on whether or not a indie artist that I shot or worked with or whatever gets to have access to the raw. I understand that they need that. And if they don't have the budget, that I would charge like a client who had the money to pay for the backlog, you know, raw catalog of whatever, they're also not going to be able to do the same things with it that I do. Like I shoot things in certain frame rates and this shutter speed intentionally because I know in post what I'm going to do with it on a 24p timeline to make it crush and look good. But if I give you the 60 frame, you know, the 60p footage and I'm like, yeah, go ahead and work with this. And they just like leave these like raw jagged clips. It's like, oh man. And then that's your name attached. Oh, we gave you photo credit. Thanks for doing the video. It's like, I
think that brings up a good point though, for us kind of newbies getting into concert photography. The people that are getting paid kind of have this stigma that like we're out to take their jobs. Like, oh, we would have got this tour or we would have got this show if all you noobs that aren't getting paid, you know, wouldn't have taken this job. And it's like,
that's so not true though.
I know the people that aren't paying people aren't gonna pay people. So like it's either one of us.
There's no missed opportunity there.
One of us does it for nothing or it doesn't get shot.
Right. Like, yeah. And they've made their peace with that. So like you either need to or listen, I'm what I would consider a consummate professional in this industry, in my respective industry. And I still take on pro bono, free gigs at my discretion. Like I'm going to choose if this is something that is, there's such thing as like an opportunity cost. If I don't do this, what am I actually missing out on? Like, what am I able to add to my skills and my reel and my repertoire of things that I've shot? Yeah. Those things will get you new clients when you've got the ability to show them. But when you don't and you're like, I need to do this, some people don't like to be on that fighting side to get a free gig. Like, here, I'll do it for free. Like, I don't want to be there. But like, if something comes up, I'd be like, oh, is this available? Like, I'm sure it's not paying, but like, I'd love to do it. And I'm gonna go through and at least do an initial color pass on all the photos that I'm gonna offer up to you. I'm not gonna give you all the raws, but I'll give you all the ones and I'll edit them all and I'll have them composited into the right frame. Like 4:5 is the Instagram aspect ratio, whether it's tall or wide. And so whatever you want to do that way with your, you know, aspect ratio for editing for photos, go for it. But at the end of the day, like if I've shot it and it's just going to sit here and my organic reach is all it's going to get if I post it, I'm like, oh, and I tag them and maybe like I did some photos of Bayside and Thrice and a couple bands the other year and they were like sharing them. I was like, cool. They like them. That's awesome. Yeah. But that to me was worth it. Cause then you get people that are like, oh, hey, like, oh, I saw you're doing work with them again. That's really cool. Like, and then they share, they like it, or there's a conversation starter there. Sometimes that conversation starter is the opportunity. Right. It could be the next thing.
And 9 times out of 10 too, these bands that do have photographers, like I'm there shooting with them. Yeah. So they're still paying somebody and I'm getting to shoot the show. Yeah. So like,
again, you're out there in the pit. Yeah. And you see that photographer, he's busting his ass and you got good lighting on him and you see him like looking through the lens, like that's awesome. Yeah, man, you need field shots, especially as a photographer and videographer. It's like so seldom do you have the ability to hire somebody to come out and shoot you while you're doing the thing and also do the thing.
Yeah.
But if you can get a +1, photo pass +1, okay, now I'm in. I've got my assistant or whatever.
Yeah. I think some of the freebies though we need to discuss, like pit etiquette and some of these. I shot Bless the Fall recently at Baltimore Soundstage, and there were 8 of us in the pit, and I would say
it gets chaotic.
3 people had situational awareness. The rest of them were just like
all elbows and knees.
Yeah, I mean, crowd surfers were coming over; they were getting knocked over. And
right.
It's like, pay attention to your surroundings
for sure.
You're shooting.
Listen, man, it's a learned behavior, right? Like there are certain types of things that you're only going to learn in the trial by fire situation. Actually, Carlos and we did My Hero Zero played Arts Fest over the summer. Mm-hmm. And so I had him shooting photo and I was shooting video on the stage because I was going to have to edit a recap together. And they was that a paid gig, Carlos, for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
a paid intern gig.
Woo, well, that was the point. I was like, look, like the internship itself is not paid, but if I can get opportunities where I can get you paid, like we're going to get you paid.
Yeah.
And then this fall, he's been with them like basically every Friday they've played downtown. He's like with them shooting, getting their social feed for the weekend.
That's awesome.
And it's like a gig every weekend. He's making money. It's like over the semester that added up for sure. But like trial by fire, he had questions. He was like, hey, can I use this lens? Like, can I switch this? Like, hey, how would you shoot this? Or like, where do you want to do this? And I wanted to get like the crowd shot of them from video. But I was like, I need you to get a profile of me getting the crowd shot photo wise, because I never get me doing those. So I was like, if you could do that, then we'll have both aspects. We'll have the one video visual of it from my point of view and then one from the side. And we just had to have we'd have conversations about it. But like, again, when you have somebody who's eager to learn, it's not like pit etiquette is hard to figure out. You just got to be like, talk to each other.
Right.
And especially if there's people that are like doing the thing, you might be able to get some pointers from them. Like, hey, like usually if you're the local one, you only get like 3 songs or whatever it is.
Yeah,
sometimes like
there's like 3 and then you're out.
Yeah. And if you're lucky and you get an all access pass or whatever from like, if you get it from the band directly, the TM directly, if like, that group every years or whatever, you can get in and get, your sticker will have like all access and then you can get it in the pit and stay there for more than just the 3. And then sometimes that's not the case. It's not like it's a linear set of rules and it's the same way every time. It changes, but damn, I can tell this Zoa energy drink really kicked in. I've been chattery as fuck we
need to get The Rock on here.
He was just on Joe Rogan's podcast. I saw. I haven't gotten to listen to it yet.
You need to turn it this way so you
get that Zoa sponsorship. But yeah, man, like I always loved. I started taking my camera when I was doing merch for different artists because I was like, when I wasn't like was Sleeping with Sirens, like I was just doing video and also shooting some photo, but being able to be available to do whatever I needed to do is way better. Like just being able to talk to the local crew. Actually, I have since done the cover we did with That's What I Want with Eliza Grace.
Yeah.
This is a perfect example of this. We were in Salt Lake City, Utah. I was with Sleeping with Sirens. This was like maybe the 2nd or 3rd date on the tour. And she was shooting with a Canon and she didn't have like any decent lenses that she liked, but I forget who I met her through on the bus, but like she was on the bus and hanging out. So I was like, oh, she knows everybody. She was dating Cameron Mazzell, who's a producer, and he's worked with them and with Memphis Mayfire and all these different people. So I don't think
it's a small industry.
They were dating, but and I think he may have like helped her get in to get like a photo pass for the show. But I was like, look, like I'm going to be using these 2 lenses, and here's my backpack. If there's any lens you want to use, by all means, feel free to take whichever lens you want. Like I trust you with. If you break it, you bought it. But like whatever. And she went for it. She was like, okay, cool, thank you. And she shot. And I was like, did you like any of the lenses you tried? And at the end of the show, and she was like, yeah, actually, I really like this lens, and I like this lens. I stuck mostly with this one. We had a short conversation, and lo and behold, like several years later, I think Cam and her were getting ready to move somewhere. And so he was like offering a discount on mixing and mastering to kind of raise some funds for like them moving.
Yeah.
Bold, awesome move to do whenever you're a freelance is that, hey, portrait session is $50. Like, let me just rake in like a quick couple hundred of those. And, so I paid him in advance for a mix and a master, and we just never got around to it. And we would talk randomly. He's like, dude, I still owe you a mix and a master. Like, what do you want to do on? And so I randomly, when we decided to cover That's What I Want, I was like, oh, I want her to take this first verse.
Yeah.
And so she did that remotely, and we had the mix and the master. And then when I was in Nashville, I filmed our performance parts, and then I filmed the boys' parts whenever I came back into Pennsylvania. But that wouldn't have happened had I never like met and conversed with her. And she was a local, I don't know if she was living in St. Louis, but she was just there for that date, or maybe like 2 days, because we were in that area for 2 days, Park City and Salt Lake. And just by connecting with her and having a good, like, just working relationship, we stayed in touch, and we've gotten to do some work together now, and we still stay. I just linked her with Alex Scoop to do some work with some of his original work music that he's putting out. So there's always like, that was something photography based that really interacted and intersected with like the music side of what I've ended up doing, and not because I planned it that way. You know, you just have to be open and receptive to those experiences. And that was one of the ones that clearly paid off. That's one of our like most streamed songs on our Spotify. It's like in our top 10 easily. And it's like not even close to slipping away. Like people really like that version. And I do too. Kind of sounds like if No Doubt went hard rock. I mess with it. Like, I like it a lot. So yeah. I'm trying to think of what else. Like, yeah, if you can converse with other people that are in the pit, the other photographers, that will, especially the one who's on the tour, he's gonna be like, in this song, there's gonna be this moment, you can do this thing. Like, I would recommend here's where I'm gonna be. So don't be in my way, but like do this or whatever.
I mean, if you see the tour photographer come out,
you're
gonna know. You're gonna know when they come out. Stay out of their way.
Right.
Just stay the hell out of their way. Like, they're gonna appreciate it, but they're also really gonna hate you because they're getting paid to do that. And
be an extra kiss ass. Push the other photographers out of their way. Like, I'd be like, body check. Hey, sorry, man. I got you, man. I got you. This guy was getting real close to you. I saw that. I know you were gonna get that shot. I didn't want to ruin it. Like. Do whatever you can to help them out, and it goes a long way. Because they're being paid for it, and that job is not easy.
No.
Especially venues are different, so like pit sizes are different, the layouts of the buildings are different. If you're lucky, you've got a building that's really interesting looking inside. If you're not lucky, it's just like a shell of a building that gets used and curtains go up and stuff, and it's just very mechanical, and unless there's a lot of production, it doesn't really fill out and feel like a big show. And so you just gotta, being mindful of your surroundings and pit etiquette is like super huge.
I think that's the moment that I knew, I don't want to say that I've made it, but like I took the next level. It wasn't shooting Alice Cooper or all these big bands, you know, Parkway Drive. It was when people started reaching out to me for advice.
Yeah. I
was like, holy shit, like I have something to offer somebody else.
Right.
And I love doing it.
Now,
so
how
like,
dumb do you feel coming to me and being like, I don't know. Like I was some arbiter of extreme knowledge.
Sorry to bother you, but.
Yeah. I was like, bro, not at all. And like, character shines through. Like, you're genuinely a really nice dude. Like, I believe that there's a place for good opportunities for people who are good people. And you are a good person, dude. Like, you're very, very conversational. You're polite. You're very like, you're funny.
Make a blush.
But you're good at what you do. And so like the fact that you can be like this little bit of discouragement you were feeling in terms of like, I keep getting rejected. Like, yeah, that's a bummer. You didn't get that show. But like, I was like, just throw shit at a wall, see what sticks. Like every opportunity you're doing if depending on my surgery, I'm going to go to that show.
Dropkick Murphys, Pennywise.
No. The August Burns Red Christmas show.
Yeah. Oh God, that was a bucket.
But you got approved to shoot both days or one day?
Both days.
So you got approved to shoot both days. So now you're going to have one day of like prep and homework. And if you're done and you bounce around your things that night, and you're like, hey, I'm approved to shoot tomorrow, so I'm going to be there tomorrow. Is there anything you guys would need, like some behind the scenes stuff that maybe they're doing meet and greet, or if there's like anything you'd like? I'm going to be in the area because you're staying in that hotel, the Cartoon Network hotel, which I've never stayed in. I'm honestly, you might have told me just on going down to stay in that place alone.
I can't believe that the Cartoon Network hotel, flagship hotel, is in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
And Cartoon Network is disbanded, like it's done. Yeah. So it's like now it's a relic of the past. And now it's really special.
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
and that was the cheapest place to stay in the area,
which is
crazy.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, like we should get the honeymoon suite.
I have an extra bed. I have an extra bed.
Yeah, but is there a honeymoon suite? What does that look like?
Probably.
Dude, if it's there, that's worth dude, let's just get that one.
All right.
See if you can get a refund on your room.
Yeah.
See if we can, we'll call them. I'll see if they have a honeymoon suite. Yeah, for sure. Who's going to be in it? And if it's sick, let's shoot some like documentary stuff in this, behind the scenes, some talking head interview stuff.
Yeah.
We'll get the band to come over to the Cartoon Network Hotel. Guarantee they're going to want to.
Oh, yeah. I knew what I was doing when I booked that room.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. You could ideally put together a piece for them. Like, hey, you guys are going to do this. I'm going to be shooting this event. I would love to be able to like shoot some like interview footage. If you guys think that you could pop by for like a half an hour in intervals, whoever wants to, you can come whatever time. I'll leave this window open during the day. And if you can come by, I'm going to have the honeymoon suite of the Cartoon Network Hotel set up for like an interview location. And you get them to come in and you produce like you guys have been doing this for how many years now? Like, why did you decide to do this? What's your favorite part about doing this? Like, what are you excited most about the holidays? Like just these little interviews that you could then turn into social pieces that are just quick little answers that make like it's its own reel.
Yeah.
And you have like August Burns Red music playing in the background or whatever. Like, dude.
And even if you don't get to that level, there's plenty of openers.
But try.
Hit one. I know I'm just telling people like, if the headliner tells you no, work your way down.
Yeah, for sure.
You're going to get those connections.
Cloud. They have the most capability of giving raw power to anybody that wants to do it. But at the end of the day, if you can get one of the local openers to get you, the head TM is the one who's issuing the passes for everything anyway.
Yeah.
And listen, there's a hierarchy to it. So you may have less rights and responsibilities and capabilities as shooting the local opener only or whatever. But if you're there and you're able to shoot and you get 3 minutes in the pit with everybody, make the most of it and do damage. Like do what you can do.
Yeah.
This is the thing you can do right now. So like, don't be afraid to go after it. I really like the idea. I mean, if we're going down there, I've never done anything with them, but I'd be happy to say like, hey, like I have a friend who's going and I bought a ticket. I literally, the email that I would send just based off of our situation, right? You've got 3 tickets, you and Nate, and then you've got an available ticket right now.
Yep.
Any other tickets?
Nope.
So you bought 2 tickets to go to one night.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's you and Nate and night two.
Yep.
And then, but you got approved to shoot for both of them. So now you don't even need your ticket, I don't think.
No, I do. Well, normally you wouldn't, but I think I kind of sweetened the deal a little bit. If they don't have to get out a free ticket. So I was like, I got night 2 covered. I just need it for night 1.
Right.
And then I got a photo pass for both nights.
Right. And to them, it behooves them to give you that pass. Cause like, why not?
Yeah.
All right. He's already got a ticket. So I say, hey, I have a friend. You guys approved him for night 1 and night 2. We're going to be coming down and we're staying in the Cartoon Network Hotel. We're flirting with the idea of getting like the email is like to the publicist and say, we'd love to kind of do sort of a behind the scenes documentary style couple of clips of some things surrounding this show. And if you do it on maybe you're able to get them on night 1, and you get that and you can turn it around that night after the show and you've got some footage and stuff and you can kind of pair it with what they're talking about in the dialogue. You basically are pitching their short form content for them that you're willing to shoot if they can get them to that hotel room beforehand. Well, they all live in that area, so they all know where that area is.
Yeah.
They'll get to it if it's, if they want to. And if not, and you've got time in beforehand where they're there and they're set up and sound check's happening and there's a place at the venue, then you can go to the venue and do it there somewhere. Yeah. And you just pitch that and then you sit back and wait. If you can put together a good idea, unless they have somebody that they've hired specifically to do that, you've just offered them something that they didn't have on the table that they know they would benefit from having that would do well on their socials. Yeah. And they're known for doing it. Like I think even amongst the metal community, the only like metal winning Pennsylvania artist for a Grammy, like, yeah, that's epic. And
in Amish country too, on the left.
Part of it. There's something about the Midwest and Amish country that really kind of like brings out the real metal roots to like our country. Yeah. That was my favorite part about Indonesia. Their culture, basically after Metallica played there in like I think it was like the late 80s, early 90s, or I think it was like the early 90s. Mm-hmm. They basically banned metal music, and you can't tell people they can't listen to the thing that they love. Yeah. They're like, especially something as tight knit as the metal community or the rock community or the punk community. You can't take that from somebody and think that you're going to control it. That's like book burning. Good luck. Yeah. Good luck. Book banning, like you're all they did was drive that network underground and force like pop-up promotion to take place and real grassroots guerrilla music scene stuff to take root. And because of that, you can never play there. You could have never played there ever before. Go out there for your first time and play to 10,000 people. I the Word Alive, and I want to say it was maybe like 2016 or 17 or something. They went out there and they played some outdoor festival, and it was like massive circle pits, 10,000 people deep, and they'd never been there. They were like, we're coming back.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when the culture is already there. And I think if we had more of a, if locally we could grow that so that people understood, look, there's a big community of this here. We just have to do it right and invest in these arts the way we invest in like the painting arts and the ceramic arts for Arts Fest and things like that.
We need, at least around here, we need like a mid-sized venue.
Yeah, just like a 200-300 cap venue.
Yeah, I mean we have Stage West.
That's like 1,000.
Harrisburg's picking up. Harrisburg's got some good venues.
Yeah,
but we need something.
Sleeping with Sirens just played there, and it rained a little bit. I forget what the venue was that they played. That X something or whatever it is.
Oh, XL Live.
XL Live, yeah. And they'd never played there before. And they were like, we did not expect this to be the show that it was. Like, we've never played here that we know of. I mean, prior to that maybe on an old tour a decade and a half ago, they might have played like the Champ in Lemoyne or something like that. But to do this big venue in XL Live outside, and it was a huge, like the crowd was on fire and electric for them and excited to see them. And they were like, this is one of the best shows of the tour. This was great. And it always makes me proud to see that out of Pennsylvania shows. I feel like Pittsburgh audiences are very not normal. So if you've got fans in Pittsburgh, if you've got any number of fans in Pittsburgh, they're crazy. But to see that Harrisburg can also represent that as well. I wish I could get State College to that point. I'm going to try. It is going to be my labor of love for the rest of my life, I'm sure, until I own a venue to do it with.
Yeah.
But.
And Johnstown too. I'm surprised at how many, Dropkick Murphys just went through there. That's where I shot Alice Cooper. Who else? Skillet's coming, and Theory of a Dead Man. Ice Nine Kills in December. Yep. I mean, that's nowhere. Johnstown is just bringing in some huge acts. Yeah. It's great.
Even the surrounding areas around there, like Jeanette's kind of between Johnstown and Pittsburgh, a little bit like south.
Yeah.
And we played this venue there. It was like in a basement, and it was like 100 kids, but they went nuts.
Yeah.
The right rural communities, man, like they don't get enough love and attention. And if you're willing to kind of like humble yourself and play these shows that maybe don't have the best PA or the best whatever, you can. That's the audience building and like the engagement building that you want to have with your fan base. Yeah. And as a photographer, it's a little harder, right? Because your photos are always of somebody else. Unless you do something that is just so ornate or interesting and new to the medium of photography, you're not really going to be able to do much to kind of reinvent the wheel for people that are watching this stuff. But that is what you have to do. You got to kind of build a catalog and a style and be consistent about getting it out there and really capturing people the way, I think that's what it is. You got to capture people the way that they can appreciate themselves being captured if they're the artist, and the way that audiences enjoy seeing it, like moments. I have a lot of pictures of artists that I've captured where like that reaching across the barricade to one fan and there's a row of hands reaching for it. Like, there's something powerful about that moment if you've got just the right shot and the right angle for it.
Well, that's like a good example is like I just shot the Midnight in DC, and they're a synthwave act, so I knew I saw photos coming off their tour. Everybody was doing the whole like halation 80s glow vibe, and I'm right. I'm not going to do that. It's going to be the same stuff that everybody else is giving them. So I just used my normal. I like to keep my styles consistent no matter who I'm shooting. I don't want to say like everyone can look and be like, oh, that's a photo Nate took, but like that's one thing I do try to do is like no matter what the act is, my edits are always the same.
But you just really started diving into it within the last year. So really like you creating what your craft and your artisan style of photography is going to be for concert photography is developing. Like you haven't landed on the right lens combo yet that you love the most. You just have one that you like right now.
Right.
And as that expands and evolves and your skill sets expand and evolve with the ability to kind of tuck and roll with the punches with different venue situations and lighting situations specifically, that's the real nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Like, how about those reds?
Actually, I found a really good way to deal with the reds.
Black and white.
Well, outside of that, but it's a little backwards what you'd think. I actually underexpose when they're just red washed.
Oh, because if you're shooting raw, you can get some of that shadow information back.
Yeah, if you try to even get a good exposure, or it's going to be overexposed.
Right.
That red and purple. Yeah. Is the minute I see red or purple, I'm like, shit. Like I just shot after the Midnight, and this is such a 180. I shot Cradle of Filth.
Yeah, just switch everybody up real quick.
Completely backlit when there was light on them, they were red washed. I'm like, I'm not going to get anything out of this shoot.
Right.
But I got some of like the best photos, in my opinion, like that I liked out of that shoot, just because I was prepared for it. I'm like, all right, knock this exposure down a little bit.
Right.
And I saved them.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I will say too about the metal community, coming back to what we were talking about before. The metal community has some of the nicest people in it you'll ever meet.
Oh yeah.
Like, it gets such a stigma. It's like, oh, these guys are hard. And
because look at them.
but I mean,
metal community, we all look like a bunch of fucking dickheads. We look like mean people. It's like, look at these throat tattoos. You're like, yeah, but it's actually, it just says, I love my grandma.
Right.
Like, everybody that I've ever met in the metal community that's not deliberately setting out to be an asshole is usually one of the sweetest people of all time.
And
from like the musician side to the fan side.
Yeah. And I will say too, and if anybody watches this, the 3 people that are going to watch this for me, if you see me at a show, I know I look like a giant creepy org who's not going to talk to you. Come up and talk to me. We'll chat about photography all day long.
And it makes the show go by better. You feel like you start seeing shots and you're like, yo, hey, you want to like, I'm down to, if you want to like hit this angle or whatever, or if you meet somebody and you get the vibe that they're trustworthy enough or whatever, and you ask them, yeah, what are you shooting on? Like, what lenses you use? And like, what do you feel like? You just start shooting the shit and figuring that out. You have no idea what you're going to learn from them, certainly, and what you're going to be able to give them that might actually help them get some better shots that night. Yeah. And it's super important to just be engaged with the community, be a part of it, be like willing to humble yourself to be a part of the thing that you are also a part of. Like, it's an ecosystem and you are in it. Yeah. And so
I'm really surprised too. Canon hit us up, sponsorship. I mean, you have Canon cameras in here.
Yep.
I'm shooting Canon. I know you shoot Canon.
Yep.
I would say 80% of the people I run into at shows are shooting Canon.
Yeah.
So, there's this whole thing. It's like, oh, Sony's taking over. But
I think Sony for video. They are. But I even still, like, I like the skin tones of, I had a really good friend of mine, Justin. He was a Canon buff, and he was like, he made the switch to the Sony, the A7R4. Mm-hmm. And he had it for a little while. He's like, I like it, but I just like the skin tones on the Canon more for photo. And he didn't do a lot of video. So he was like, I've got these capabilities, but I'm not really fully utilizing them. His Fuji is nice. Their color spectrums, the sensors are going to be different. Like, the gear isn't going to make you a better photographer. The gear will give you better opportunities to capture things the way you want to capture them. If you've got the right lens and you're the right distance away and you've got the right circumstances surrounding you and you know how to pick and choose out of your little arsenal to use, like what weapon you're going to war with. Mm-hmm. But like, the cameras themselves are not going to be the make or break on whether or not your photos are good. Right.
And like when you roll up to a situation, if you have a crappy camera or the limits of your camera.
Right.
So you're going to work around that. And sometimes that makes you more creative.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I know I'm not going to be able to get this shot, so I'm going to go do something else.
Well, if you have to work, there's workarounds, right? And those workarounds create situations you otherwise wouldn't have been in if you had the opportunity to do things the way you wanted to do it. And those happy accidents occur because you've made space to be in a place where you otherwise wouldn't have been because you had no choice but to be. And necessity is the mother of invention sometimes, man. Like, you definitely see some really good stuff come out of like strained spaces.
Mm-hmm. Everybody loves being in the pit. I mean, I do too, but I think some of my favorite shots were behind the crowd.
Yeah,
with the long lens, know?
Same.
So it's not all about being in the pit.
Well, I feel like we've given people enough Skillshare knowledge if your photographer is looking to get into it. If they're interested in getting to find you, where can they find you on your socials and stuff?
Instagram, Nate Follmer Images. My website, nfollmer.com. That's pretty much it. That's all. I hang out on Instagram all day.
It's like, it's where I live.
Yeah. So...
And if people see you at shows, to come and say hi to you and talk to you and introduce themselves and pick your brain, man. Like, you're acquiring skills and knowledge every day that you go out and do this, and you've got stuff to share. And the world needs more people to kind of spread that information out there. So it's good that you're out there doing it. Couldn't recommend running into you and talking to you enough. You're a great guy to talk to. And
send me a message on Instagram too. I will talk ad nauseum about cameras.
This is true.
Anything.
Cameras, electronics, guitars, music. Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. I know you got to get going to get the kids and stuff, but we're going to be doing some work together here soon. So whenever you want to come in and sit down and do some stuff, let me know. I'll make time to sit down here and we'll block out 2 hours just to kind of like crank and just see what we get. 2 hours this time, 2 hours this week, 2 hours the next week. Keep going, see what we get. and we'll see each other for sure at that Love Drafts show.
Absolutely.
January 6th. It's a Saturday. I don't know when we play, but it's a battle of the bands. And if you want to go, people should go. Yeah. I'll have links and stuff for people, and I'll probably talk about it if I do more podcast episodes. But dude, thanks for coming on, bro. I appreciate it. You're going to be one of my regulars. We'll have you on more often.
I need to talk more next time, but
yeah. I need to talk less.
We're always collaborating at all times with the universe.
That is a wrap on another episode of the Collab or Die podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making this episode for you. And now it's time for our favorite part of the show, the part where I beg you to please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't be shy. Give us a shout out on social media at Collab or Die Podcast on all the cool platforms to share your thoughts, your feedback, and your love. Until next time, Collab or Die, baby.